Calling to order the 2025 first budget hearing for the Municipality of Monroeville. It is October 24th, approximately 6:30 p.m. So every year, the manager and staff present the budget to council. It's a document that we work on for some time, and hopefully we get it passed by the end of the year. But this is the first of two budget hearings that we will have, and there will also be deliberation at future council meetings. There is no voting at this evening's meeting. This is just a chance for some of the department heads and staff to present to council and go over their budget line items. And we're going to jump right into that now. We will have our next budget hearing next Wednesday, the 30th, 6:30 p.m. And the document can be found online. There's copies of the municipal building. There's copies of the library, I believe at the senior center as well. And but I'm going to open the floor for public comment on budget issues only. So is there anyone from the public that would like to address council on any of the budget items, 2025 budget? Now would be your chance to do so. Seeing none, we're going to close that comment period, and we're going to move over to our Q&A with our department heads. And we're going to start with the fire chiefs, actually.
If you could all sign in, because I don't know all your names.
41.
I state your name. Good. And I'm not sure if you have one spokesperson to get started, but whoever's going to start off, if you don't mind introducing everybody else with you, that way for the public, that everyone knows where you're from.
Good evening, Mayor Resock, Manager Graziani, Council. We're the Monroeville Fire Chiefs. I'm Jason Sonnefeld from Monroeville Fire Company number 1.
Todd Kane, Monroeville 3.
Michael Coleman, number 5.
Corey Ramsey, number 6.
Logan Stadler, Station 4.
Tonight we're here to present our budget to you for 2025 for the EMS and the fire side of things. We provided you with a document to give you our department accomplishments for this past year of some things we did with adding some equipment, some training, some apparatus. I don't know if you wanted me to go bullet point by bullet point or if you guys just want to skim over that. And if you have any questions, you can let us know. On the bottom of that is our current operational services that we provide to the community and mutual aid, for everything from our dive team, Swift Water, and the apparatus that we have for the municipality. On the back of that page, this is an item I brought up to Manager Graziani during our discussions about having something changed in the beginning of the budget. Under the manager's message, there was a typo under for emergency management service. It should be emergency medical services for that line item of the allotment money. It was also under contributions. So we discussed it with him. He was looking into some language issues and if those things were able to be done. Currently, the EMS operation for Monroeville is done out of stations 1, 4, 5, and 6, and the license under Monroeville EMS, which Logan is the chief of, out of Monroeville number 4. So our 2025 plans are, we would like to add an additional Lucas device, and we'll talk about the funding for that. Discuss our 5-year agreement with our capital purchases with our large apparatus. We also look at replacing additional EMS units this year based on the availability from manufacturers. Right now, they're about 2 years out to be manufactured, and fire trucks are between 3 to 5 years out, depending on if they're pumpers or aerials or any other special units. We're also looking at replacing 50 sets of personal protective equipment. That's our turnout gear, everything from helmets, jackets, pants, and boots, and then any other apparatus we deem necessary to be replaced throughout the year. So we'll start with at the top of the budget line item. You'll see 2,400. It's the emergency medical services. They may have got twisted up whenever I was stapling them together today. They're both there. These are the 2,200 or 2,400.
Or 24.
So the first line item is the gasoline and lubricants. That's generated through the budget. We have no real say in that. We also have no salaries, no benefits, no overtime, so you don't see any of those line items for the municipality. Medical equipment currently, the 2024 budget was at $9,500. We're proposing a $10,000 increase to that to take it up to $19,500. Electric parts were at $4,000. We're asking for that to be the same. Motor vehicle parts, no change there. The only area we went over was tires this year. I don't think during our research we haven't gone over that before in any other previous year, so we don't see it being an issue going down the road. Telecommunications all stays the same. Repairs are good. Contract services are fine. And our ambulance contributions, that's a number that's actually in the budget at $185,000. So we asked for a $20,000 increase. That would give each station that runs the ambulances an additional 5. But amongst ourselves, we had other discussions about increasing that some more based off further discussions with you folks.
Jason, real quick on medical equipment, 412,242. So the 19th, great. Include what specifically?
So we're looking
Points
to
of
add.
Lucas, is that-
So we're looking to add another Lucas. So we just spoke with Stryker this week.
Tom,
Chief,
just real quick, could you explain to everyone else?
so
I know
Lucas
what it
device is the mechanical CPR compression device. They came out about 10 or 12 years ago, I'd say.
Mhm.
And we've now upgraded, or we're adding more of those devices throughout the municipality. We only had one in Monroeville for probably, 8 years, 10 years or so? And now we're up to 3. We want to continue to get every station one, and then eventually put one on every ambulance in Monroeville. Right now, they're currently sitting at about $28,000 to $30,000. That includes the device, the warranty, the maintenance, the batteries, the bag, everything that comes with it. We recently talked to Stryker, and through them, because of everything we buy through them and how they do their financing, they set up annual payment plans because of, through the State Fire Commissioner's Office, there are grants available that you can make annual payments on these devices. So what we had talked to them about was using some grant funding and also some budget funding, if we could, to purchase another one of those devices to be housed in Monroeville. Currently, there is one at Station 4, one at Station 1, and one at Station 6, and we're looking to add one to Station 5.
Given the time frame that they've been in operation, we're
Yeah.
talking about a replacement schedules and update, and making sure the maintenance schedules too.
Yeah, so the past 3 that we've purchased, well, this will be the third one that we've purchased this way, all have the 5-year maintenance plans built into them. The one that's at Station 4 is currently past its lifetime, so that'll be the next one on the rotation schedule. That'll kind of be the backup to all these other units once that one's replaced. So the average cost over the 3 years was about $9,700 for that device. We just got the pricing back, so we were looking to move money this year to make the initial payment, and then money from the grant for next year, along with the municipal money, so that we could pay it off quicker, so that we can get the next one ordered and started to pay for by the end of 2025. So that they're all.
It's an expensive item.
Yes,
I
it
think
is a
that's-
very
that's-
expensive item, and it is well worth
Oh, yeah.
using it. It helps us reduce on the manpower in the back of the trucks, and obviously we have to follow specific protocols before we can use it, how we can use it, age of the patient, size of the patient, all those different things. So,
Just one question. I don't know if it's maybe a typo. It's different on their sheet versus the budget. Their very first one, the gas, oil, and lubricants.
yes.
In the actual physical budget, it's $30,951.
Okay, yeah, that might not have been generated whenever I pulled that number, so I may not have corrected it. I think I just transferred it over.
Well, no, what you have in your paperwork is the same as the 2024 budget, the
Yeah.
38,610. But the 2025 budget it went down, so we got to make sure that's
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
so page 47.
I don't think that was in there when
Probably timing.
when I started this paperwork, so I may not have updated that before that was generated, before I could see a copy
Okay,
of that.
so make sure
generated in there. Yep.
So we're
Reflects the same.
proposing to 38, correct?
Yeah, you're requesting it stays the same.
Yeah,
as
we're
last
requesting it stays the
year.
same, just,
So that 38,610 should be over the 25 line as well.
And again, just to the manager's point too, a lot of the things that you see on equipment like tires and things like that are all strewn across the budgets too, but I'll have to double check with Paul, but I believe he mentioned the huge increase has
Yes.
happened in all the emergency vehicle apparatus,
Yep.
tires and equipment, like
Now I
an
think with
unbelievable
the-
jump.
I think now with the trucks we're getting, I think they're the same as the dump trucks, the smaller dump trucks, so we may be able to
Yeah, so
get better price on them because now they're all gonna be the same size or the same type of tire, but we haven't spoken.
He didn't sound optimistic on
Yeah.
on.
Those are probably one thing that's just gonna keep climbing. It's not one of those buy three, get one free type deals like your local supplier. So it's buy six, pay for six, top dollar.
Are we talking EMS now?
Yes, this is just emergency medical services, yes.
Okay. We currently provide gas, tires, and maintenance, is that correct?
Yes, and workers' comp for the volunteer paid EMS.
Okay.
Everything else is handled in-house as far as the truck purchases, all that.
Errors and omissions insurance and medical malpractice also.
My question is,
Yes.
I know that the ambulance run almost all the time.
Yes.
How many ambulances and how far do they go out of time that we're paying for tires and gas and maintenance?
We have gone all the way
Somewhere
to
else.
the city of Pittsburgh for
Do you
mutual
have
aid.
do you have some kind of number of
I don't
how
have
many
it.
miles that we do not
Chief
go in
Logan,
town and how
Chief
many
Sadler
out
may
of
have
town?
I don't have a specific in and out of town number, but just to give you some totals, last year, Monroeville EMS as a whole ran over 8,600 calls. With the fire combined, that our fire and EMS service here in town is running over 10,000 calls for service. each
Calls,
year.
but not necessarily mileage.
Yeah, as far as providing mutual aid, we do provide mutual aid outside of Monroeville. Given the state of what emergency medical services is in right now, it's kind of a necessary evil. I understand that, obviously, the municipality of Monroeville is inputting this money into it for tires, oil, lubricants, fuel.
Right.
But generally, when we're receiving the call, we're kind of like third or fourth on the run card to most of these places out of town, so they've already hit out neighboring services, and they're busy on other calls, so by the time it gets to us, we're the third or fourth string at that point.
But
And then,
that's not the case at, let's say, East, that transfers almost everybody to Presby.
So it's kind of a little bit of a different circumstance with that.
Yeah, but that's taking our fuel, our tires, our maintenance from here to Presby
Sure,
on multiple runs every day.
sure. And
Can you come up with some sort of calculation for us on how many miles we do put on these ambulances out of town?
we can attempt to, yes.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what that is. And I don't know if we can recoup that. We maybe need to look at something other than the mutual aid to take care of helping us, help you.
And those transfers that we do, it's kind of a double-edged coin there. I mean, we're kind of doing it in the sense that we help our local hospitals in town here in Monroeville, but we're also doing it, we might have a patient that needs stabilized at the closest appropriate facility, and then we're taking them to a higher level of care. If we take a patient east, they get them stabilized, and they say, okay, this patient needs to go to Presby, and they need to go there now for, surgery or something like that. So, I mean, it's very beneficial.
Traditionally, though, we're not doing non-emergency work.
No.
It's as if
Right.
these are emergent
This
cases.
is an emergent situation that requires them to get downtown like now.
So do the hospitals pay us for that?
Generally, billing for that, we bill the insurance companies of the patient. There is a system set up with pay or last resort, so in the event the patient doesn't have insurance, we can recoup something from the hospitals. It's pretty consistent with Medicare rates. It's not anything, not anything.
How often do other communities come here for mutual aid? Because you guys aren't available. Probably never, right?
We do a pretty good job at staffing our in-town calls. There's times when we have a mass casualty incident or something big going on, and we might need to call in some additional reinforcements. But for the most part,
It's not a give and take then. We're the big dog and we're supporting these other communities.
Is it fair to say?
it depends.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
depends.
situational
It
dependent.
depends what's going on in the east zone. And the east is from Plum out, basically. Like if something major is going on, you have a shooting in, say, Wilkinsburg.
No, I'm talking about the number of times that you go out of town for mutual aid. I don't think it's reciprocal. I don't think other towns are coming here as often as you guys go out of town.
Probably in the past 6 or 7 years, I could probably count on one hand how many
Yeah.
times. And that's because
5
we've either had
times.
a mass shooting at the mall, a major vehicle accident where we had 11 patients.
So we give more than we get.
Yeah, like Pro Lakes Fire, we just didn't have enough people to staff the ambulances and do all that, so we had to call mutual aid.
To that end, you know, our leadership makes sure that we are operating at the highest level, you know, I mean, and that's not a dig to anybody outside of Monroeville, it's just, we are staffing appropriately because we see the need, you know, the supply and demand, and, you know, that's why a lot of people end up calling Monroeville, just because we're making that conscious effort.
Well,
to staff
there's a
it.
challenge also from 911 legislation that has nothing to do with us, but that's a problem that maybe we can assist with too. So there's state legislation that says, from the county perspective, that if they don't have anyone, they go and call the closest person. Now, there's actually, we just went through this conversation with them, doesn't necessarily say we can't say no. Okay, I mean, there's no count of that. That's what governs the 911 center. That what
And
governs.
we do
actually
at some
our-
point to that, depending on how many ambulances we have, because there's a policy of how many we have to have left in town. So we have to have
What's that number?
should be three
Three.
staffed ambulances left in town
At all times.
at all times. Unless there's like, something happens at PNC Park or a stadium, and then the chiefs have to collectively approve.
Sure.
And then we notify everybody up here saying, hey, this is why we don't have anything, because they're all going down there.
Kennywood.
That
Kennywood
number
was an
is three.
example. We went to
Exactly,
Kennywood. We took a
absolutely. We went to
task
Kennywood
force.
for a
That
couple
number
of
is three, though.
But three, yes.
Okay.
If it's just medical calls outside of Monroeville to anywhere, and we only have three left, sorry, you gotta go somewhere else. Our policies, we have three, they have to stay here for this town.
Now, we've looked up from this 8,000 number that you're at now, how would you say, in general terms, trending that over the last 3 years? Where's it been going? What was it? Where did it go from, and what are we up to?
Hey, the 8,000 calls, you could
Yeah,
definitely speak to that.
as of September 19th, when I last took these statistics, we were already over 7,000 for the year. So, I mean, each year we're creeping about additional 100 to 300 calls over top of what we did the previous year.
So whenever you factor that in, so everything, what we've been talking about, like to say the 10,000 fire and EMS calls, does that include these mutual aid events where we leave?
Yes.
But maybe not necessarily the transfers?
It's all in there.
Yeah,
Transfers would count as that as
Well,
well?
the emergent transfers are an emergency. I mean, if somebody's having an MI and they need to go from from east to Presby, in some case, it's as if they're on the sidewalk. I mean, it's the same.
Oh,
it's the
absolutely.
problem.
And
Yeah,
that's,
and
I think it's how it is in every
yeah.
suburban hospital, that probably the local ambulance service is probably the first ones there to transport
Yes.
someone to a different facility.
And the numbers that climb aren't necessarily due to mutual aid calls. We've built numerous apartment complexes in town. We've built numerous residential sections in town. So we're bringing more people into Monroeville. Those people may be calling the ambulance more. So that could be increasing our numbers.
So that kind of takes us down to the ambulance contribution line, the last one
Correct.
on 520. So if we've been climbing, to do that, and we're looking at 205 here.
Yeah, that would
Now-
be
Yeah.
each of the four that have an ambulance, an additional $5,000.
And there's a lot of ways to look at that piece of it and what it can come with it. So hopefully, is the agreement's in the last year right now, to do that too.
And this
So-
is the only part of it that is not in the agreement.
Correct.
This is a side.
Correct.
This is a
And it
side.
was always if we have the funding for it. But we're kind of getting to the point where the stress is getting heavy on Monroeville, and the problems are getting worse from around us. One of the things I think we talked about in the last year in the process of interviewing a manager was this exact piece. What do you think about, and how do you work that out? And most folks, Alex included, had talked about, the idea of if we're helping you, to Bill's point, if you're helping us, we're helping you, and that's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay, to do that too. But it's putting the stress on us. About 3 years ago, I think we started to talk about that some of that funding specifically went to, help reinforce that. Now, I don't know if everybody publicly is aware, how many career staff are on there, and how is that funded? The numbers of people and part-timers.
Yeah, we're over about, Monroeville EMS is over 20 full-time staff members right now, and then we have a pretty significant amount of part-time staff. I would say between 40 and 50, and this is kind of where the service is taking a transitional shift, if you will, of we see the need of what we're running every single day, and we realize that we need to put more full-time people on. We need to, this is a full-time service. You know, previously, we had a lot of part-timers that helped us out, and we made it work. Now it's getting to the point where this needs to be invested full-time. We need to put more full-time people on because of the call volume, because of the demand. You know, our people right now, I mean, we're basically burning them out because, you know, we have a limited pool of providers that are working here. And, you know, we have a lot more shifts that are open. We need to constantly, you know, we have a lot of people working overtime, a lot of people that are, you know, just getting burned out. And like I said previously, when we came up here for budget meetings, you know, if somebody down the road's offering $1 more, those people are going. And we want to keep those good providers here in Monroeville. And that's why this ambulance contribution is so important, because it allows us to retain those good people. It allows us to make this a career service for them, because, you know, we don't want to lose them. In turn, losing the people, you know, it hurts the service.
You pay them, is that correct?
That's correct.
We don't pay them.
No, we
And
pay
the
them.
revenue that you get from the ambulances running pays for that.
You pay for their salaries, their uniforms, their benefits.
Right.
They get PTO
You guys
time.
take care of all that.
Yep.
From whatever the insurance company gives you and wherever you get your money. We don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, it's all
We don't
from-
know how much it is.
Yeah.
That's none of our business, that's your business. So, but that's where that comes from.
I debate
Well,
that.
yeah, we've talked about this. I mean, my goal is that we create a transparency of trust.
Sure.
You guys got nothing to hide. I mean, it's a bare bones business, and there's a lot of bad debt that you guys are carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
it's
But-
kind of one of those things that health insurances are, I mean, you're in the business. It's so strange that you could send somebody a bill and they could say, I'm not paying that. I'm only going to pay 50% of that. Try that with your mortgage company or your car loan.
We had a
That's not how that works.
conversation today.
They get to tell us,
And as you,
we're not paying that. We're going to give you this.
and the bill or the check goes to a patient who may not give it
Depends on
back
what
to you.
type of plan they
That's right.
have. It'll go to the patient or it'll come to us. But now, the newer healthcare plans that are out there are zero balance billing. So if we bill a patient $1,000, your healthcare pays $500. We used to be able to bill that balance. Now we're no longer allowed to do that. So we just eat that cost. And it costs us more than $500 to put a truck out the door
Well,
for 2 hours.
I have an issue with that. I took an ambulance ride a year ago. Number 5 came, and thankful they did. I needed it, and I got to the hospital. But I got a bill for $275. I turned it over to my insurance company. They said, we're not going to pay. Then I got something from you guys,
Billing company.
some company
Yeah, the billing
saying,
company.
you owe us this money. So you're getting it anyway.
Not necessarily,
Well,
because depending on what your specific healthcare plans do not allow us, once the insurance turns it down, we're not allowed to go after it.
So
Depending on what the specific healthcare plan
can you
is.
build a patient first,
something
and
come
let
after.
them turn it into their
I paid.
insurance?
We do it both ways, depending if we get their insurance information, we get it provided from the hospital through the
But
computer
once they
system.
turn it down, the patient, but if you bill them first,
They'll just turn it into their insurance, and the insurance can still deny it.
yeah, but the bill was first received by them, or would that obligate them somehow to pay the balance?
If they have health
Or
insurance, they'll
you
turn
might be
it right.
contracted
Right.
directly with the health plans.
Yeah, and to my
You
knowledge,
might be
I don't believe,
contractually obligated to just accept what they don't pay you.
and if there are some health cares that if we become contracted services with Highmark or Aetna or somebody,
It's less.
you're already accepting less money
Yeah.
than the less money you were gonna receive if you try to bill them. Because then you get a direct pay rather than going to the patient for them to get the check. And a lot of the people, I don't say a lot, there is a majority of people that will keep the check and never pay us.
And that was it.
And now we have to spend more money to try to go to the
But
magistrate, to go to
what
court.
about not billing the insurance company? Don't have any agreement with them and always just bill the patient and let them deal with their insurance company?
That does happen on specific cases.
Few people.
Also, too, with a lot of the billing companies, they're trying to go after that first, just because going to bill the insurance companies first, it generally works out. It's just the insurance company that's like, yeah, we're not doing that. I mean, it's EMS billing is a very confusing, very tough business to be in.
Well, I think 2 points came up in the last year that are significant to us, okay, that could affect us. Number one, there was I think we're going to the second year since the Medicare evaluation was done for Monroeville. And what was the outcome on that then, in terms of the potential for rates and reimbursements for?
They increased. We did see an increase in that, which was helpful, but again, I mean,
Medicaid.
yeah, we're it all depends on your payer mix. It all depends on, I mean, we've been able to recoup a little bit, but in the big picture, it's still.
Essentially, but on the different levels of care, unlike your home, your bill, we go and, Bob, we go get, we were talking about, getting a knee replaced, somebody that they do. So there's a billing process for every step, to do that. In the EMS world, it's not. It's a BLS, ALS1, ALS2. There's like 3 different steps. It is what it isn't, to do that. If we have 6 people there, 8 people there, or 2 people there, it doesn't play into that too. So one of the things that we discussed in the League of Municipalities this past year had been these reimbursements. So we're kind of locked in our area. This is where we are. We really didn't get a reimbursement increase for a number of those things that had occurred. So that locks it in. There was a presentation we had that also included, it said, guess what, folks? The party's over with it. It is not true, or you guys can agree or disagree, because you have another funding source, too, to look at. Where I'm going is for the fundings of your organizations, but has been that, it's not enough to fully pay for 20 full-time staff, okay? Not really in terms of even on 8,000 calls.
In addition to that, too, the Monroeville EMS on paper, you might see and say, wow, they must be doing really well for themselves, but we're funding 2 separate services with our EMS revenue. In addition to the contributions from the municipality, which we greatly appreciate. We're putting a lot of money into the stations. We're putting a lot of money into our own personnel bills, tuition reimbursement. I mean, so even though we're making X amount of dollars on EMS revenue, it's all gone. And if we have anything left over, we're saving that up so we can buy that new ambulance next year, so we can buy this new piece of equipment, so we can prepare for this healthcare increase. I mean, it's just. We're all kind of running down the road, and the cloud's coming behind us. It's chasing us.
Well, I think to add to that, too, to Alex's point, perhaps maybe we can, in a more in-depth discussion, look at those expenses, look at the problems that are, to do that, to review some of those cases. And again, an era of transparency. I don't think it's unfair now to do that, nor to this group either, too. I'm sorry, Bob, go ahead. You were just going to say.
Each station owns its own building, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are they paid for?
No, mine currently has a loan on it for a $1.3 million renovation we do. We pay $5,000 a month. We still have about $650,000 left on that. On top of the 2 ambulances we just bought 2 years ago that had a $400,000 loan. So about $1 million in loans. I'm paying about $10,000 a month in loans.
What about number 5?
We own our building.
That's my ward, that's why I asked.
Yeah, we own our building. The only thing that we financing is money for a new ambulance that we, on order, just playing the waiting game for them to get done and get it on the line.
When did you order it?
2 years ago.
Oh, so it ought to be close then, huh?
Hopefully. we had a hiccup with the chassis, so trying to find a chassis for us. So that was the biggest issue, but we finally secured one. It's just waiting to get put on the line.
Yeah, ambulances aren't cookie cutter vehicles like an SUV or a dump truck that you just buy it off the lot. Everything is very particular, how they're designed, how everything. I ordered 2 of them from the same manufacturer on the same day at the same time, and they came in 9 months apart because they couldn't get the cabin chassis. They couldn't get 2 cabin chassis for us. They could only get us 1.
I think we can look forward to maybe another chat before we're done.
Absolutely.
That's all I
All
have.
right,
Thank
now
you.
we're going to go over to the 2200. This is the fire side and the fun side. So 2200 is the fire suppression side. I probably did the same thing with the fuel with that, which I did. So it's 5195. I don't know what it says in the book, if it's the same or if it went down.
This is page 41.
Yeah.
In
It went down.
our budget.
40,000.
It went down to 40. Okay.
Yeah.
If it could stay where it is, that'd be great, but if it goes down, that's understandable. On here, there's also no salaries, benefits, none of that stuff. Fire suppression expense, there was 12,000. We kind of we moved money into that account because we just purchased a bunch of fire helmets. So that's why that number was up to 12,000. I believe there was only like 7,000 to begin with at the year. We did some budget transfers, moved money, and then that invoice should be coming out you'll see it on the next council bill. So that's why the next one, the increase was, I'm sorry, it was at 5,000, that's why we asked for another 5 for next year to take it to 10. So that original number was $5,000 for 2024, and we moved money to make it 12,000. Medical equipment is $5,000. We asked for no increase to that. Currently, we've spent $3,400. That is our AED program. Last year, we started an AED program on all the fire apparatus in Monroeville. We bought 26 AEDs from Zoll. They're compatible with our heart monitors that are in our ambulance, and we do quarterly payments every year for 5 years with 0 interest, 0 penalty if we pay it off. So we do about a $1,700 a month payment for those. So we should be having another payment of that coming up.
Chief, can you back up for a
Yes.
second to fire suppression expense?
Yes,
Does the fire department do a yearly inspection to all commercial properties?
no, the fire department does not. That is through the building and engineering department here in the municipality.
Okay,
That's his other hat.
that's
Yep,
not you guys.
Nope, that's the other thing I do upstairs.
That's your other hat.
That's his day job, yeah.
Exactly.
What is fire
later.
suppression?
Okay. I'm sorry?
What is that? What is fire suppression?
Fire suppression expense, anything we deem for fire equipment. The wording has always been there, so this year we're using it for fire helmets. We bought 25 fire helmets to go with our 50 sets of PPE. We bought 25 helmets out of the budget this year.
It's a catch-all sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-all. We can use it if we have to replace nozzles, hose, or anything like that that we deem to be added to a fire truck.
And those helmets are replacing expired equipment too, just,
So they have a 10-year shelf life on them, so they'll be expiring in 2025, so we're ordering them now, so we can start putting them in service when they're needed, and then we'll get an additional 25 next year. The medical equipment, like I said, those are for the AEDs, so those are on every fire truck, pickup truck, chief's vehicle, command truck, rescue truck, everything. Every fire apparatus in Monroeville has an AED on it that is capable of being linked to the heart monitors in the ambulance if they're out on a call or if they come across something or needed for additional resources. Motor vehicle parts, that is all basically through the Borough Garage. There's no increase in that. Tires, we seem to be doing good with our fire truck tires. The newest thing we added was instructors down at the bottom. It was 411, 311. It's a newly added category for some classes that we've been hosting for the Monroeville Fire Department. Our annual hazmat update. We just hosted a ropes class over there that Chief Coleman taught to the department. So in our front page, we've added a bunch of new fire instructors to the rank and file of Monroeville Fire Department. So now that we're able to host more classes, we're trying to get those funded because they do cost us money because they have to go through State Fire Academy and a local college, either Allegheny or Westmoreland Community College for these classes. So that's kind of, we moved money around and added it in there, and that's where that went.
And that's taught only to Monroeville?
It's taught, it's
Individuals?
held by Monroeville, taught for Monroeville, but if we want to open it up, we do, and then we charge people to come to our classes. Yes. And then it helps us offset, like if we hold a CPR class, we have to incur the cost of those cards, those books, or any material for the class. So that kind of helps us reimburse that and keep the money in the training center. Telecommunications, I think we moved money out of there. That's why that number 13.5 is down. That's our tablets and everything through the municipality for the Wi-Fi and the CAD connections. Radio maintenance and repair. That's just anything we're doing with our radios and any of the apparatus, fire or EMS, replacing batteries, new mics, new radios if they're damaged or anything like that. Vehicles and the portables that we all carry. Water, that's for Station 3. That's their Wolf Pen water bill. Vehicle maintenance, the next one down, automobile repairs. We went over that by about $20,000. There was a catastrophic failure earlier this year of a ladder truck, truck 5, had a catastrophic failure of a lift cylinder of the cab. Both lift
cylinders and a wire and harness went bad on it, so the truck was shutting off on us while we were driving down the road.
It was out of service for how many months?
6 months.
6 months. So the wiring harness was repaired, then it came back, and then as they were lifting the cab, the hydraulic cylinders blew out on the truck, which has never happened to any fire truck in this town that I'm ever aware of. And if you two could ever think of it happening somewhere, even the mechanics couldn't believe it, so we'd had 2 new lift cylinders added to the cab of the fire truck. So that's why that was kind of probably not going to happen again, but that's why that's why that's like that. So that's why we're in the red on that. Contract services, that's where we do our hose testing, ladder testing, pump testing, everything every year for all of our apparatus that we keep it up to date.
So you can take hose testing and then later.
We changed hose testing to contract services. We removed hose testing last year, I believe, and just made it contract services after talking to Josie and trying to learn how this whole system works of what is a contract service, what is, fire equipment or telecommunications. So we changed that. VFD allotment, that's the money that is in the fire agreement that is allotted to each fire station of $10,000. So currently 3 companies have taken it. The other 2 will be getting theirs by the end of the year, so that'll zero itself out. And then the bottom is the fire relief that comes from the state. We actually just got that check, so you'll see that on this list of bills coming out, correct, Josie?
Yep.
And that comes from the state. You guys are just a pass-through. The state sends it to you, you give it to us. The chiefs committee puts it in the bank for the relief. It pays for the supplemental insurance, the cancer insurance, the physicals, all that stuff that is paid for by volunteer firemen's relief. And actually this year we got $1,000 less. And we were told by the state that it was never going to go down again after it went down the past couple of years, and it went down another $1,000. So we're working to find out why and how, and they're trying to make it more equal across the state, but we seem to keep losing money every year. So we're not really sure. And apparently that number used to be way higher than what it is. Up
That's
to
true, it was.
200, 300,000. So it's almost
yeah.
cut in half.
It used to be almost $1.5 million over every 2 years for the,
Now we're-
when there's the audit, yeah.
So I can only hope it doesn't go down any less, but we'll see what happens. Usually once that goes in the bank, it's usually gone within 30
Are you
days.
expecting any other impact of this is a Tom Cook portion to do that too from the State Fire Commissioner, on the impact across education for some of the OSHA requirement stuff that the state's adopting, move into the fire service that they have not done in the past?
Not really. One of the rules they recently changed is changing the age for some of these classes, which I don't really know if I agree with. We're kind of seeing how it pans out. So we're getting members younger now. They can be 14 going in, and now they can be 17 to take the burn classes, take their national Fire 1 exams. So, but I haven't seen anything with the OSHA stuff coming down yet, or any issues with that coming.
Yeah, he seemed to indicate in our last conversation that there's going to be an impact on that in terms of, it'll be just like private industry and a number of the other things that we'll have to do in terms of personnel training.
Yeah, there was discussion about having an annual, keeping a specific amount of annual training. Right now, the only annual training required in the state of Pennsylvania is hazmat training. So,
On the EMS side, even too.
yeah, so that's all for the fire, as far as their mandatory training. So that's it. That's really everything we have for fire and EMS side of things. You guys have any questions on anything collectively, or?
Anything else, council?
Is your dive team and Swiftwater people, are they all currently certified?
The current active people on the team, yeah.
Yeah, you get moved off if you don't keep up, like if you don't do your swim test now, you automatically drop.
How many are on there?
That fluctuates.
How many are on there today?
I would have to say 25, 20, 25.
Okay.
Both of those teams supplement each other.
Yeah.
They're two different, but they can supplement because they're required to have the same type of training. The lines training, the advanced boat operations, all those things.
How many stations have boats?
One.
Just one.
Just one. Station 4 has the boat, and Station 6 has the dive equipment, but when we're activated for any type of thing, we pretty much all rally together at a certain meeting point, and then we move forward from there wherever we need to go.
How many individuals, let's say you had to use that, how many go with it? 25 don't go.
It varies on the incident, really.
Yeah.
It literally,
Over the years.
we
it's
had
been 6.
a call where just the boat went.
With the most recent one, I think we had 3 or 4 divers and like 3 or 4 other support people just come out and help.
Yeah, we normally communicate
6,
when
8,
we're going
somewhere
out
in
of
that
town.
area.
So,
And then the chiefs will communicate about who's going, what equipment, pickup trucks are all leaving, and then the rest of us send out messages to kind of backfill all the stations. Whatever chiefs are staying back, try to make themselves available.
So that call you're referring to was out of town call?
Yes, for
I
the
mean,
dive team.
Yeah, because where do we need divers in town?
divers,
Logan's Ferry a couple years ago was that
I mean,
incident.
at the occasional pond or something.
occasional pond, pool.
Yeah.
I mean, you have water main in the mall, that blows, that sinks the 3rd floor, the bottom floors. So it's there, it's been there since the 70s. It's a resource that we talked about giving up, we never gave it up. It was one of the first in the county. It's just one of them resources. It's also, we try to use it as a recruitment to pull people to us for different things. You know, if we can get you in on a dive, maybe I can get you in on the ambulance or fire. And it's just one of them things we keep going. I mean, dive in the Swift, well, we've had the increase in the Swift in town. I didn't think I'd see that, but we've had probably, 5 incidents?
Yeah, we had one within the last year also
Yeah.
down Broadway Boulevard. We picked 2 people off of out of a car that were stranded because the roadway flooded. They drove into it, got stuck, and we were able to extricate them. And I think at the time of dispatch, don't quote me on the time, but it was definitely under 20 minutes. So from the time of dispatch on scene, geared up in the water, plucking them off and bringing them to dry land. So, it's one of those resources that's not like an ambulance that's used every single day, multiple times a day, but
When you need it, you need
it, it better be there. Yeah.
Yeah, and really, as far as upkeep, other than training, there's not much expense with keeping them
Your
going.
hydro test on the bottles, the regulators and that, they get serviced. So the equipment gets serviced. It's all breathing equipment stuff. You're going underwater.
We were able to purchase a lot of it through grants, which was very helpful. So that allowed us to get equipment to outfit, suits to outfit people and other things. We recently had damage to the boat, and we had to replace the boat under insurance because it was damaged during a training exercise. So, but other than that, it's pretty self-sufficient.
Very good.
Anything else?
Anything else, council? Nope, great job, gentlemen. Thank you. Appreciate your service.
Thank you very much.
Good work with you, fellas.
Appreciate your time.
Council, we're moving over to our IT department. Tina Mueller, please. Welcome.
Hello. Page 22 and 23.
Thank you.
Everything works, there's no bugs, thank you so much.
What I'm passing around is just some, like a breakdown. So there's only 2 areas that are significantly increased. One of them is the computers and servers. It's not significant, it's just an increase. We select a subset of computers to upgrade every year. So this year is hopefully going to be Public Works, and then possibly getting you guys new laptops or tablets or something so that you can do all this online, not paper. So that's just a little bit more. The number that changed significantly is the contract services fees. And what I provided you is a breakdown of what the plan is, what each little sub-thing is, and whether it changed from the previous year. There's a couple new things that were added. There were some things moved to the cloud, which caused us to have a subscription now. So it's a monthly subscription instead of paying for maybe a new server every 5 years. Now we're going to be paying every year for something. So there's a big price increase. And then there was a couple extra modules that we wanted to get.
Related to our website to build the website out.
Yes.
The Civic Plus environment enables us to do things, and we're going to be able to take advantage of some of those things through these modules.
Correct, yeah. Mr. Graziani spearheaded a lot of that, so these are the quotes to see if we can get that and we can go from good to great.
Well, that's a nice way of blame the manager for the increase on, which, fair enough.
She's been here long enough to know that.
She's good. We're trying to,
Right?
really improve and up our game on technology, and you don't read a newspaper probably a week and not notice cybersecurity issues, vulnerabilities. So the investments we're trying to make, I think, are good resources, but then at the other time, it's about communicating with our public and trying to build out, again, that website environment that we've already invested in, from when we hosted it ourselves to the Civic Plus, and then eventually being able to do more with Civic Plus.
There's also a few items that were just, some of the equipment that we purchase that deals with security will also let us have monitoring services now. Everybody's starting to up their game with security. So there were a few of those I threw on there too that I thought would just be, for the price, was definitely worth, the extra little check on security.
Any questions, council?
I apologize that it was so small. Once I added last year's in there, it shrunk it.
The only thing that had come up was, and I don't, forgive me, I may be a year off, okay, so.
Okay.
Was licensing issues that were coming forward, were they due this year, next year, or some other things? Didn't we have some
For Office
licenses?
365 or?
Or it's just that we moved to 365?
No, we moved to
and then
365
it's
this
done,
year.
so it's taken care of.
I did end up having to add a few because of the way they license. At first, they told me we only had to buy licenses for warm bodies, and then after a while, they said, oh, well, that needs, and that needs, so we had to add a few. But, no, the big difference is just because we went from on-premise to online.
And that's all under that contracted services?
Yes,
As you lump that all underneath that?
it all is, yeah. That is, I believe, the correct category, right, Josie?
I'm sorry?
The contract services is the correct category for that sort of
We
subscription.
hope so.
Until
That's
the
our
auditor tells us
intention.
otherwise.
Yeah, it's our intention to have it all. We tried to review it.
That makes
This year.
sense. I don't know what other category you put that in.
Right.
Right.
One question, traveling expenses. Last year it was zero, the year before it was zero, the year before it was zero. This year it's $4,000.
Actually,
Where are
every
you
year it's
going?
4,000,
Where are
and
you
every
going?
year it ends up getting transferred into something else, and we end up not going to seminars.
So I want her to, I'm really pressing upon department heads to be proactive in professional development. It's really the only way to stay current and to maintain our investment in each of them as employees. We just got to do it. Unfortunately, like she said, they are too busy. They can't afford the time away, and it ends up getting absorbed into the rest of the budget. So they're very judicious, a little bit more so than I'd like, and I want them to be more ambitious about trying to, make those investments in themselves so the community gets, those benefits.
And that little plan you have there is actually what we did spend, not what we had asked for from year to year.
Any other
Okay,
questions?
that one on me.
Council?
Not on him this time.
Anything else, council? Thank you, Tina.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tina.
All right.
Finance Department. Josie, please.
All right.
You want to stay there?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, unless we can get a camera on you, maybe.
Josie can stay there.
He should be able to. Or do I need to go up there?
We'll find out in a second.
Okay, good.
You okay?
All right.
What page are you on, Josie?
I'm sorry?
What page of the budget?
21. No, actually, I'm sorry, that's wrong. 22. We're going to start with revenue.
Information service.
On the revenue side.
Yeah, revenue, page 22. Basically, I gave you some pictures just to break up the monotony of all the numbers that we're looking at tonight. And the first one is a pie chart. Finance, since before I was here, had certain revenues that they allocated to the finance department, and it kind of just stayed that way. And it's not that finance is doing anything to generate these revenues. For the most part, if you look at the chart that's there, the three main largest revenue streams that we have in finance is real estate transfer tax, regional asset tax, and general municipal pension aid. All of these, well, the pension is determined by, the Attorney General, or I'm sorry, Auditor General's office. Real estate transfer and regional assets are generated through spending, and like the regional assets it's based on the 1% additional sales tax that is implemented in Allegheny County. And obviously the transfer tax is,
We love those transfer.
excuse me, generated through commercial and residential real estate. I also this year threw in a revenue trend because Alex likes trend information. So I gave you 20, 21, and 22 and 23 actuals. And you can see it fluctuated a little bit there. And in 23, we actually did pretty well with over 5 million. And I typically like to budget under what I think may happen, because we can't really predict the future. And, since a lot of it's driven by consumer spending, who knows what the economy is going to be like in 25. So that's basically where that is.
Housing market then?
I'm sorry?
Is that the housing market? Is that
The
what's
hou-
causing those trends?
In the real estate, real estate transfer taxes, the housing, and like I said, commercial too.
And the RAD would be the sales tax. So when inflation happens,
Yeah.
Right.
you see a direct impact to our RAD
Sure.
revenue, as also as the business mercantile and the business privilege taxes that we collect here in Monroeville, direct correlation.
Okay. Now, I did say earlier that I was going to keep this under 5 minutes. It's a lot of time for the rest of the presenters, so we can get out of here at a reasonable time. Okay, that's enough about the revenue that I have no control over. Page 21 in the expenditure section. What I like to do is the first two, the pie charts. Actually, let me back up a bit. The legal size paper that you have, I broke my expenditures. It's printed on front and back, so pages 2 and 3, you actually can just put next to each other. But I break them into controllable and uncontrollable. Salary and benefits is considered not a controllable expenditure because you have, your wages, obviously, your taxes associated with that, your benefits, and that's all a fairly large chunk of my total budget of $552,000. 413 makes up the salaries and benefits.
How many employees, Josie?
4. Now, controllable, and, not only do I have that little Excel sheet, I also made a 2 graphs or pie charts for you. And of my controllable, we have contract services and accounting and auditing services that make up the largest part of that. Contract services is basically our software for accounting, our leases for the copiers and that type of thing. And that, when I say controllable, you can negotiate with other vendors, but we're actually at a pretty good spot. So then that brings us to the expenditure trend. Here's your little chart. And you can see from 2020, it continually has gone down, so I would like to say I was responsible for most of that.
Take credit,
But-
Judge. Just take it. Just take the credit.
Yeah, I'm responsible for some of it because in 2020 to 21 is when we switched from Munis, our old software, to AccuFund. And we saved probably about 60,000 a year on that. So, and you wouldn't have been able to convince me that it was a good idea when we implemented it because I think everybody in the whole municipal center was not liking me very much because they were,
A lot to learn.
yeah, that was it. But I think now that it's all, everybody's used to it, we're good. So I don't expect it to go below 552 because I think I've cut everywhere we can. So, any questions? Good. Did I keep it under 5? I was thinking
know
you'd
about
put
that,
the
but it was
timer on.
He did not put the
Very
timer on.
informative, Josie.
No timers tonight, but thank you, Josie.
All right.
We're going to switch over to the Senior Citizen Center. Tara.
What's going on with my voice here?
Always happens when you gotta talk.
90, 91.
Thank you. That'll make things easier. That's a nice package.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have next one for Mike?
It is so nice.
Okay, so in your packet, there's a few different things. I always get questions about how many people come into the center and how many are residents and non-residents and all that good stuff. So you do have a little handout. It's our yearly accomplishments, which spells out pretty much all of the things about attendance, all the new programs that we've added for the past year. It spells out all the different renovation projects that we've done to the building over the past year, like improvements. It also spells out in the very back page the revenue for Silver Sneakers. Real quick with Silver Sneakers, I've been working with Alex. We're going to have some major changes happening to our fitness healthcare programs coming January. What Silver Sneakers is a fitness healthcare program that we are a certified center for. Supplemental Medicare insurances decipher whether you have that program or not, or various other programs. That in the beginning, when I first started here, Silver Sneakers was the only one. Now there's several others, and a lot of new ones have popped up lately, which have caused insurance companies to venture out and look for different options. So this year, one of the big hits is Highmark, who was originally one of the original healthcare providers for Silver Sneakers, has announced they are leaving Silver Sneakers as of January 1st and going to a new program called Fit on Health. The majority of our people that have Silver Sneakers are either Highmark or UPMC. So it's definitely something that I could not look into. That would definitely affect our members. It would definitely affect our revenue. So I definitely met with the rep for that different program and spoke to Highmark representatives as well. Alex was definitely a big part of that too. And we are proud to announce that we have signed an agreement with Fit on Health. So in addition to that, Health America, which is another fairly big supplemental insurance for seniors, left Silver Sneakers as well and went on into a new program called Renew Active. So I was like, well, if we're going to look at one, we might as well look at the other. So we are signing a contract with them as well. So as of January 1st, we will be a certified site for Silver Sneakers, Silver and Fit, Fit on Health, and Renew Active. So that's 4 different programs that will be generating revenue for our fitness programs, but are also there for our seniors to take advantage of. So that allows them to use our fitness facility for free. It allows them to take our group exercise classes for free. If they're a non-resident, it waives their non-resident fee because we do get reimbursed through those healthcare companies. Each one of those plans, we have a different agreement with. They're not all the same, but they are all the same as what we're getting for Silver Sneakers, if not better. Some of the Fit on Health is definitely, I feel, a better option in payout for us. So it's a lot of extra administrative work on our part, but it's about providing a service to our seniors, and we didn't want to affect their services in any way by not making those changes. So I just wanted to go over that.
Now you have 4 different Silver
Healthcare
Sneaker
plans.
organizations.
Yes,
But the revenue is going to be the same, if not better.
yes, yes. I just don't know how it's going to fall out.
Yeah.
So I left it, if you look in the budget, it still says Silver Sneakers. I didn't break down the 4 because we just recently signed the agreements like last week. And I really don't know how they're going to pay out. So we just figured we'll break it down when it comes and you'll know next year. I'll be able to put more of a like what I expect from them. I just feel it's going to filter between it'll still be the same income, if not a little bit more. We'll just have to break it down into itemized.
It's just more work for you guys.
It is, because in order to get the reimbursement, we have to submit daily
Attendance, or
check-ins,
whatever.
attendance, yes. So I am happy to say that Alex did support our department, and we hired Christy Chesko, who is currently a part-time employee of ours anyway. She's been there for 2 years, but we've made her a full-time employee. She'll start in like 2 weeks, and she will be our new designated membership coordinator. So because of all of the different reports that we have to add, all the people that will come in, and that they all will have to re-sign up, through that healthcare plan through our center. There'll be paperwork that they'll have to do and different things like that. Just too, with the increased amount of people coming in, wanting to join our facility, it has increased dramatically over this past year. So it's definitely a must-needed
How
position.
many full-time employees do you have?
Myself, and it'll be 3 others now that we have Christy.
So it'll be
4, if you include the public works employee. So that's that. You also have in there our department goals. I put that in there for you just so you have that. Then it gets to budget adjustments. I had been up here the past couple years and haven't made much changes to my budgets. One, because COVID hit and we were closed, and then it really took a while for our center to get back to what it was before. So I will officially say, as of this year, or as of spring last year when we went back to our full hours and our full schedule, that we are back to that and actually above that when it comes to attendance. So with that, you have more people coming in, we have more programming that we're providing, and obviously we all know the cost of everything has skyrocketed. So I couldn't hold off with having to make increases to my budget. I tried to be very conservative in it, but there was definitely places where I needed to make increases because this year we're going to be very tight or maybe going over a little bit just because of the increased cost of things that I had no control over. I'm going to skip the employee part. I'll get to that last. General office supplies, I did increase that. That's basically the majority of general office supplies is printing our newsletter. So on average, our newsletter is between 26 and 28 pages. Sometimes it goes to 30. The winter one, for example, that comes out in 2 weeks is a 28-page colored newsletter. We do not mail those out. They are available for pickup here, obviously at the senior center, the library, various places like that, to conserve costs. But the cost of paper, of the copier, printing the actual newsletter itself has increased. Also, flyers and different things like that have, one, the increase in cost of the materials, but obviously we're printing more because we have more people coming in to the center. So that's why there's an increase in that. It's mainly, I mean, obviously we buy other things besides that, but it's mainly because of the increase in printing of newsletters. I always get a tickle when I have to talk. See, Josie?
That's what it is.
Water bottle?
Cleaning supplies. Obviously, you can see that went up dramatically. Costs are crazy. So, a case of toilet paper has gone double. We've changed vendors. Everyone looked at different vendors. Everything has pretty much stayed the same, or doubled in cost. Obviously, thank you.
You're welcome.
Obviously, increased usage obviously requires more stuff as well. Sorry.
Take your time.
So, I'm already kind of at the $20,000 mark. Like, I'm a little bit under it, and we're already at, this was with me preparing this budget back in like August, September. And that's being very conservative too. We don't really have a full-time custodian right now. He's out on medical leave. So the things that he would normally do are not getting done, and I'm already like at the limit. So that's why you see a big increase with that. Didn't want to do it, but have to do it. Building maintenance and repair. Building's getting older. It's going to be 45 years as of June of this coming year that the center will have been open. Obviously, a lot of things are in capital budget, but these are two line items that are more of an urgent matter. Our barn is over 20 years old, and that's where, obviously, when we built these buildings 40 years ago, we never thought about storage and having places to put all of your things. And the majority of that barn is being used to store our programming materials and Tupperware and different things like that because we have nowhere inside. And it is now being infested by nice little rodents that are making their home in there because it's a wood-sided, a wood shed, and a lot of the wood is deteriorating. There's holes. So we want to get it re-sided so that we can better use it for things. They have destroyed a lot of our materials in there, actually. So the cost of that would be, you can see there, about $5,000 to totally side the barn. The other big thing that I have on here is our group exercise classes, our fitness programming is continuously increasing in attendance. Prior to COVID, back in 2008, we built a small group exercise room, and the majority of our classes were taught in there prior to COVID. It was crazy how we crammed people in there. There was no, like, personal space requirements or, anything like that. I think back in those times, we were cramming 25, 30 people in that little room. So there were some good things that happened with COVID as far as, like, having space, not just for catching COVID or different illnesses, but so you're not on top of somebody and, falling over them and causing hazards with tripping and things like that. So we have started using our shuffleboard court for the majority of our larger classes because we can fit 25 people in that class to teach that versus the small room that only fits 12 to 15 in there. That room is now being used on a daily basis to teach between 8 and 10 classes a day. That's about 30 classes a week. Right now, We have dividers that separate the three parts of that room that are original to the place, so they definitely need repaired. But with talking with Mike Strom from Public Works and Senior Council and my staff and Frank, our fitness coordinator, we felt it's best to make that actually a permanent room, because with the dividers, like, you can't have something on the other side while they're teaching the classes, because the noise goes through both sides, so you can't have a lecture talk because they can hear the music. If I have anything louder on that side, like a movie or a presentation, they can hear it on the other side. So we felt it was best to make that our winter project. I always have one project that I do in the winter time when Public Works is at a slower pace with things. And that's to take down that divider and make it a solid wall, soundproof wall. So that, and change the flooring. Because the other thing is, right now, it is a shuffleboard court. It is not the proper flooring for teaching aerobics on. So we've had some tripping incidences because people's feet stick to the flooring. It's not shock absorbent. So the flooring needs to be a floating wood aerobic flooring, which is similar to what's in our group exercise room. This is all stuff that Public Works can do. So it's just me buying the supplies to do it, and they would do the renovation of it. May ask, what am I going to do, a shuffleboard? We used to have 3 different leagues when I first started there. We do have one now that meets like on Wednesday afternoons, but it's dying down. There's like 12 to 15 people in there. So it's a hard decision for me to make, but I have to look at where the need is and where the numbers are, and right now that's with our fitness and group exercise classes. So we'll let them go through. They usually take the summer and spring off, so I figured I'd let them go through the winter, and then we would, start the renovation with that. I'll just make sure I have another fun activity for that to replace with it. So that's what that is. That's what the increase for that is. The equipment repair and maintenance increased. We have a not compliant kitchen hood and sprinkler system that we need to have replaced, because we are inspected by the health department and obviously code enforcement with the municipality, and that is something that we have been told needs to be replaced to be compliant with the county and with the municipality. So that's to replace that. Travel and seminars. Kind of heard the talk with Tina and Alex make his explanation of, we're probably going to see all of us department heads coming up with little increases of that. I used to go on conferences, and I haven't in probably close to 10 years. One, because there was only 3 of us, and if I left, there really wasn't much programming that could be done if I was absent for a week to go somewhere. So I felt it was more important for me to stay in the building and make sure that I was providing the services to the seniors. Frank Lafredo, and prior to that, the fitness coordinator prior to him, they are required to go to conferences to keep their continuing education certifications for the many different certifications they have to do to perform their job. So Frank does do that continuously. So he has been I have been allowing him to use the money that was currently budgeted, which doesn't leave any room for anybody else to do anything. He uses the majority of that for what he needs. So I have increased that so that myself and the program coordinator, I didn't factor in having a membership coordinator in there, but we can work on that. But it will allow us to be able to go to at least one thing per year, so that we can find out about the newest trends and things that are happening in other senior centers around the country. So.
Not to mention, sometimes you find out about grant opportunities and other kinds of networking.
Exactly. So
Fine.
I think it's important to add that on there. It's not that much of an increase. I did put on there what we would like to go to, but that's just our, right now, kind of request. Staffing, I'm not gonna get into talking about different personnel, but you can see on the back page, I kind of spelled out, my employees, what their hourly rates are, what comparable rates are for other people, that also work in the municipality. I get up here every year and I always advocate for my employees because I feel that, they work tremendously hard, for the amount of money they make compared to what, nothing against any other employees in the municipality, and make that very clear. But they are one of the lowest paid employees of the municipality, especially Frank Lafredo. You can see all the various, I don't know if I put that on there. I guess I forgot to add that. I do have that, and I'll email that to you guys tomorrow. I do have all the different requirements that are certifications and different things that he's required to have to perform his position. And he's definitely at the bottom of the list when it comes to salaries. So,
You get the gold star for putting the paragraph that relates to the grade.
Yes.
As you're familiar with, I think we have 11 grades or 12 grades for salaries. I'm working on a plan to reduce that to 6, and within those 6, provide very clear requirements related to budget, span of control, supervision,
Right.
and certifications and level of education. And within those, if you're familiar with the grades, we have this really wide range of a low, a mid, and a high. And what I would like to do is within those, if there are years of service, that over a certain thing, you're not below the mid. So if you're in a grade, and you've been in that grade a long time, you should, after time, be over the mid
Right.
within that. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot of work with Kate and I and Josie working on that.
I was definitely working with Alex on this, and Joe Sedlak and Kate too. So this was something that Alex asked me to work on too. It wasn't just me doing that. The bottom part is definitely, I definitely want to give my evening supervisor for the senior center a raise. He's been working there for 10 years. So you can see there that I requested a raise for him. He is the only one that is in the building at that time, unless there's some particular activity that, special activity that we have planned where myself, Frank, or Carol would be at it. One of the biggest goals for next year is to be increasing our evening activities, which obviously would put even more responsibility on Mike. So I feel it's important to compensate him wisely with that. Real quick, one of the things that we have planned for the new year to increase our attendance but also provide more services to the residents of Monroeville is we are providing, this has been talked about, we have a lot of people that want to participate in our activities that we do at night, whether it's a craft class or a group exercise class, or use the fitness facility, or come to some of our social activities that we've added. But they're under the age of 50. And I've contemplated it, because if you're a resident and you're paying taxes, but I don't want to step on the toes of the seniors that use that facility. How can I provide a service for those people too, but not compensate the services of the seniors? So what we're going to do starting January is start a 30-plus pass. So anyone over the age of 30 will be able to buy a pass. Will be $25 a year for residents only at this time, which will allow them to use our facility after 3 p.m. And then at that point, you'll see when the new newsletter comes out, we've added a tremendous amount of programming for that age group, newer activities, more advanced exercise classes for that age group. Doesn't mean that my seniors can't come to that, but a lot of them don't because they like to be home by that time. So we don't feel that it'll be a conflict at all. It'll actually provide us to be able to increase our attendance at the nighttime and also provide a service for more of our residents at that time. It also will provide us to be able to co-partner more with the library and the rec department and different things like that. So we're looking forward to that. We'll be advertising more about that when the next newsletter comes out in 2 weeks. So that was my reasoning for working with Mike. So, any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Just real quick, remind the council that you guys are in the top 10% with the silver sneakers. Obviously, they'll change next year somewhere weird because there'll be other offerings.
Yes, we are in
Which
the
is
top
amazing.
10%.
That's competing with YMCA's, LA Fitness,
For
anywhere.
profit. The other thing is too, I passed it along to Alex. I received an email this week from,
County.
from the county. They have over 60, senior centers in the area, active aging centers. And they requested to meet with me and do a tour of our center because they are coming up with a new plan to improve and improve and expand on their centers there, and they want to use our center as their role model, as their protocol, because they see what they do, they're very impressed with what we do. We obviously stand out by far compared to, I believe, any senior center in the county, and it's a very big compliment to me and my staff that they reached out to us and they want to use us as an example to make their places better. So myself and Alex and my staff will be giving them a tour tomorrow very proudly. So it's a big thank you to my staff, and obviously senior council. They help us out tremendously, both with finances and with volunteering. So they're a big part of the reason why we're the way we are too. So just thought I'd put that out there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
job.
And then thanks for putting up with my
Got it. Okay, we're going through to the police department. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry, Nicole.
No offense, Doug, but please, no.
Hey, we're hoping he's on a call right now.
He's on his phone, but he's.
Exactly. We'll skip over the police department today. Sorry about that, Nicole. Yeah,
That's
it's the
okay.
library.
That's okay. Good evening. Thank you so much for your continued support of the library. As most of you probably know, the library will be celebrating its 60th anniversary next week. You should have received an invitation to the 60th anniversary party that the Friends are throwing on November 2nd from 5 to 7. But I would like to personally invite you to join us. If you can do so, we would love to see you there. At the beginning, I passed out a one-pager folded that gives statistics and highlights from the past year. The numbers are from 2023 because 2024, we don't have all those numbers yet. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Our budget can be found on page 93, 8100. And we are not asking for any increases this year. The biggest difference you will see is the decrease in the electric bill, thanks to the installation of LED lights in and around the building. The money to do that was raised by the Friends of the Monroeville Public Library, and Public Works was instrumental in getting us a great deal and making that happen. And the only other change was to pull the computer leases out of the contract service line and place them into the lease principal line as we were asked to do by finance.
Telecommunications has been painful lately.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a very severe incident where a longtime provider was no longer providing the service. And in the process of the billing in the last few months, they were, notifying us and existing customers of that situation. We continued to pay the bill, but failed to see that there was a date
End of
certain
life.
stop. And they, as a provider, never said, it looks like this and these other handful of entities are not noticing we're going to stop your service notice. What happened was catastrophic, in my opinion. Quite frankly, their lines in and out were severed. They reacted, I think, heroically to try to get a cell phone to provide to the public and to be able to make calls. Nobody wanted to give their cell phone up to do that, which I don't blame them. That would be crazy to put your number out like that. The number that they've had for 60 years, unfortunately is in hold still. Apparently, when you report numbers, it takes 30 days for that to happen. So the number that's been advertised for the library that people may have had on speed dial for decades has to wait for it to be returned. So they've gone to a new provider. Nicole, Alan, and other staff members did an amazing job to rectify the situation, but I can't emphasize it was catastrophic. And to this day, again, that number's still not able to be posted because we don't have it. So if you tried to call what was in your system as the library number, you won't get the library because that number's
The emergency number that we are still using is on our website and on our Facebook. And we will continue to use that until the new line is, or the old line is connected again. The good news is we can at least now make phone calls out, so it is much safer. And we can call within the building, which is better than it was the first day it happened. So we're inching towards the solution, and we got a lot of support from Alex and Tina to get that moving in the right direction.
That's a
Tell the
potential to be
public
looked at, isn't it?
Tell the public the phone number.
Oh,
You should try to find it. Somebody look at the Facebook.
Well, they know where the library is, so they can go right to the library.
Yes. What an unusual circumstance, and quite frankly. This was a vendor who wasn't providing telephone services for the rest of us. Unfortunately for the library, they're the only ones who got cut. I mean, for the rest of us, we all didn't get severed at the same time.
the temporary number is 412-389-9529. And again, that's 412-389-9529. And we can also be reached by email and Facebook. And of course, we always welcome everyone to come in, which we've had a lot of people come in and say, we can't get you on the phone. And I heard they've been calling the senior center and say, hey, we can't get the library on the phone.
Tara's staff has been doing a little bit of like helping.
Yeah, so we do appreciate the assistance in that.
But are you looking for a better level of service, though? I mean, I brought that up because I thought it was improving, too, in terms of possible and the cost with it. It's
It actually, it will be the same level of service, but it will actually cost less.
Better said, thank you. That's really
So-
what I meant, yeah, to ask you.
So we are looking forward to that, because at the time, it was an emergency, so we were really gonna sign whatever they gave us, because we needed a phone. But it was a lesser bill, so we're looking forward to that. I'm not sure the first year, it might not be much less, because we're gonna have to pay for that cell phone that we emergency had to buy. But then after that, it will be lower. So,
And the rest of the electronics that run the phone system inside the building is relatively recent, if I recall correctly.
yes, the phone system is 5 or 6 years old at
I
most.
think it was changed and upgraded since I've been in council. So.
Yes, yes.
So that's no problem. So it's just the line to it. Central Electronics is fine across the system.
Yes, it was just a case of,
Switching to smoke signals,
yes,
right?
exactly.
That's humor, library board. It's okay, thanks. I know. It's a lesson as well.
Any questions on 8100? You'll notice 8200, which is on page 95. When I met with Mr. Graziani and we were discussing the budget, the 8200 is actually the Monroeville Public Library Fund. It is the nonprofit that the library, the nonprofit arm of the library. And so we felt it would be a better view to have it in the special funds, since it is not part of the general fund. And so you'll see that it's zeroed out on page 95. But all of that same information is on the page that I handed to you at the beginning, and it will be in the special fund section of the budget. And this revenue and expense goes directly through the Allegheny County Library Association. sorry, I lost a paper. Where did I put it? Oh, there we go. So the 8,200 account was moved to highlight the fact that it's not part of the general fund. It's instead the nonprofit. The money comes in and out of the fund through the Allegheny County Library Association accounting and does not touch the municipal budget. So it's additional funding that allows the library to provide additional services to the community on top of what the municipality provides to make it a great library. So that is why that has moved.
And how's that looking for this next few years in terms of the contributions from ACLA, from the RAD funding?
Right now, it is looking pretty steady, and we have been working hard to try to find additional grant funding and do some additional fundraising. We just found out we received a $26,000 grant for programming, and so we're very excited about that from Staunton Farm Foundation. We had our second mini golf fundraiser, but this year we actually built our own course so that the cost going forward will be smaller. So the income from that fundraiser, which seems to be very well attended, will be larger. And we actually have 2 different libraries who are wanting to rent it from us for a nominal fee. So that will help with fundraising as well. But with RAD, it looks like we weren't sure we were going to get 3%, but it looks like we might get at least 3%, potentially 3.5, but there's no guarantee on that.
Good deal.
So, yeah, this is what we always talk about, because there's the 2 budgets, it can be a little confusing. So all in, it's $2 million.
Yes.
About. We
Yes.
spend, well, the library, it costs $2,017,000 for the library to operate how it is.
Correct.
$579,000 comes from the county
Comes from
and other, like fundraising.
many different, yes, from all the different revenues here, regional asset district, state, book sales, fundraising, all of that, yes.
As far as municipal, Monroeville
It's
municipal tax dollars is
1.4.
1.4.
Yes, correct.
Now, is there a reason, and maybe just because it's always been this way, I don't know if it's a question for you, or if it's for Alex and Josie. So there's expenses, the 8,200, we have revenue coming in, all the things you described, from the county, fundraising, all those things. And then there's expenses on that. Why aren't all the expenses just in 8,100, and then we bring that $579,000 fundraising?
Yes, so
Is there a
the
reason
reason
why
why,
it's 2?
for example, Josie has staff who process accounts payable, accounts receivable. None of those expenses in the 82 happen through our department. So the money really, unlike the pass-through we mentioned with the fire, where there literally is a check to us, and then we write a check to the fire, these revenues never see us. Expenses never see, no, not at a pass-through, so they aren't even touching us. That's why I wanted to get them outside
Yeah, I
of
understand
the
about
general
I
fund.
understand
see
the
what you mean.
revenues, but the
Expenses are the
expenses.
same, so her
Okay.
invoices would
They
go to
still
the
not a
county,
pass-through.
ACLA, and their accounts payable, receivable, cut the checks. Their vendor agreements cover those.
And there's ACLA accounting services that hand to that
Correct.
too, and then the oversight of that comes through
The board.
from the board here too. So there's oversight
that how-
to that
absolutely, no.
independent, to that independent number, and that's our appointees there, to do it. So it has oversight, kind of functions the same way, it's just,
Oh, no, I certainly know there's oversight,
well,
but
no, I
I
mean,
just didn't
we need
know
to-
why there wasn't.
I just wanted to mention it to everybody.
And
too.
originally, honestly, when I got here, there were 3 accounts. There was an 8,100, an 8,200, and an 8,300, which was very confusing.
We're getting
So,
better.
We're getting better, and we're trying to make it as transparent and as easy to read as possible. I thanked Josie. I really liked it because the revenue and expenses were on the same page. It's pretty clear. And I thought it was a nice idea to move it to the special fund because it made a lot of sense for what it is.
Some of you guys might appreciate this. You have older teens or younger adult children, you're still paying for their cell phone. You get the bill, you take care of the bill. The kid's budget never sees any of that. And it would be silly to report that on the kid's budget because they're not at all doing any of that. It's sort of maybe like you're doing with their auto insurance and the gas you put in the vehicle. It's not You know, they're bumming about, they have enough money for McDonald's, but the reality is you eat the bill, both sides. It comes to you and you pay it. And that's what this ACLA is. It's outside of municipality. It isn't in
Correct.
Monroeville at all.
And then there are some other add-ons to it too. So funding from fundraising went to reduce the costs on electricity and things like that because of this particular project that the Friends had done.
Yes.
You know, to do that
And
too. So
some of
occasionally
the-
it does come back and even this 8,200 stuff in there.
When we
reduces.
replaced the elevator, that money was raised through the fund,
Yeah.
and things like that,
Right,
so.
the elevator was one.
Yeah, and we can write grants through the fund that we can't necessarily write as a municipal department. So that,
The flooring was redone, even though municipal staff did it, that came from the
It came from
funds.
the-
There was
yes.
some construction things, so it helps to reduce even the burden on the municipality, even though it's, from all those different sources.
but
Very
it is
complicated.
those two numbers together that make up the library.
I know it seems simple to you, Nicole, and these guys got it, but it's not, I mean.
It's not simple, I know,
Yeah.
I know, it's a lot of information, and, if anyone has additional questions, I'm happy to sit down and go through it. If you really want your mind to twirl, I can show you the, funding formula for the Allegheny County Libraries.
Is there a new one? Is it out
Not
yet?
yet, I am the chair of that committee.
Okay.
And we are meeting soon for the first meeting. RAD wanted to freeze it for another year because the formulas aren't doing what they wanted the formulas to do, because formulas don't do that. They don't do what you want them to do. They do whatever you've programmed them to do. So we're still working on that.
If you need the solicitor, feel free to take him.
Yeah, so there's, 46 libraries all go into that formula to see what they get from
I
RAD.
just want to commend you on FunFest. You and your staff did an outlandish job. It was
Thank
just
you.
Fun to be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
They couldn't get him out of the bounce house.
That's why he had
Yeah.
the crutch.
I was afraid to get in it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your support. It was my staff is amazing. My board is amazing. Thank you.
Cupcakes, November 2nd. That's all I heard. Cupcakes, November
Cupcakes,
2nd.
November 2nd.
Yes.
Yes, and the first event for next year is the mini golf in the library, February 24th, I believe. If it's not, it's the closest Saturday to February 24th. And so I hope you can join us for that as well, because it is a fun time. So,
22nd.
22nd, okay. February 22nd is our first big event of 2025. So, any other questions I can answer for you?
Great job, Nicole.
Thank you guys so much.
See you
Have a
Monday.
great
Nicole goes back to her seat. In your tabs, you see a special funds. That's where, like, the MS4, liquid fuels, things that don't go to the general fund will be in the special funds category. And the other thing, and Tara didn't mention it, Tara also has a senior council who raises money, like the Friends of the Library, who contribute to senior council, senior projects. Some of those things that happen at the senior center are because you bought hoagies that you're hoping to eat on November 1st. So that's how it works.
Whenever we evacuate into the building. Thank you, Mayor. We cleaned you out in one day.
You didn't bring any luggage or anything, did you? Hopefully? You got 5 minutes.
Hey, Nick.
Guys.
Hey, Nick. We need a
It's, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Would you like me to enter and sign in, please?
You know what, Chief?
Sign out.
We gotta take a quick recess just for the stenographer.
Okay.
We can all leave. Yeah, we can all leave.
I'll be here by myself. I do pretty good talking to myself, so that's okay.
Now, TV guys, are we still on the air? Are we gonna stay on the air?
Yes, we are.
Yep, gonna stay in here through the break.
Okay. So we're taking a quick recess. Microphones are still live.
Hello, Joe.
Nick, you're gonna be, from a coaching standpoint, I gotta check with something, because occasionally I blow this off. So, yeah. You have, I actually gotta show up.
I'll be quick, Joe. It's been a long week for me, too.
Next
Been a long week for me,
Thursday,
too.
what are we going to for Thursday?
Oh, no, I'm just getting caught up today.
So you're here?
You know, I was
You're-
back, I was at the
you're-
IACP up in,
You're not coaching or
Boston,
anything out?
International Association of Chiefs of Police
Okay.
Conference. It was a good
No,
conference,
I
bunch of stuff.
generally don't.
Learned things, took some
Yeah.
classes, it was good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, specifically our
I gotta
drone
go to, I
project,
don't
stuff
usually
like
have to
that.
go to Water Buffaloes, but now and then I gotta go to that one. Well,
How have you been?
Good, man. How about yourself? Oh, good.
Good, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see my sympathies today. I never had a chance to even say anything about the
Cheryl's
your
probably
family.
calling,
Yeah, I mean, I spent a few months, weeks up there. How
Yeah.
weeks go by, huh?
Well, it's still stuff up in the air. He lived alone in Texas, and you gotta deal with them people, you know.
Yeah.
And sell a house and
Oh,
car
wow.
and,
You do all that stuff. Wow.
yeah, so it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, we lost bets here, you know, poor bets.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so sad.
Yeah. She was a unique person.
It was a pistol. So I like to say.
Yes.
She was good people. Her heart was heart of gold.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
she's great people.
Absolutely. I looked through some of the stuff, I didn't see a drone.
We're
Did I
thinking that
miss
it's
it, or-
capital. We're still in capital here.
Yeah, so you know Mount Vernon's closed from now till 2026. They're doing a really big 100-year rehab. I was hearing the thing about it. Imagine this house was literally, seen in the 50s. He's adding one to the 1780s, maybe a little bit after he's out. President Clinton.
you have to have enough of the state official.
My understanding was the first major rehab in 100 years. So it's closed to the public. The house, the grounds will be available. Last year, some of the villages, some of
Message out of year,
Washington.
or I could just put on the fund.
Yeah, the neat thing about Washington, obviously, because he travels, is, his vision is economic development, land surveying. He's always eyeballing the vision to think about waterways.
Last night, it's stable, this trying to figure it out.
Oh, really? Which one? Oh, you got this, that's what you didn't drive.
My wife drops me off
Where are you at? Where are you at?
right down here, about a quarter mile down past White Building. And Command Brothers.
Yeah.
It says,
It's new with the
I
county,
always,
$60 million in the hole, huh?
Yeah, that's all.
my favorite, which this is an update. Even though it says 2019, it's
hard to imagine.
2022 version from it too, but it has been, I should show everybody. Download this, get it. And they decided, they realized that,
This country can't block out from coming. They just need more people to do it.
It might have been a little nudge, yeah.
they try to
Them
explain
criminals are
everything.
smart as geniuses.
My father-in-law,
Where it's referenced in 3 or 4 paragraphs.
Figure something to block it, this guy's smart enough to unblock it.
Yeah, just shake on.
I did not end up when I was at the hospital. I didn't get there until about 1:30.
I don't know how many presidents' houses he's been to, but my father-in-law's been to.
When you want, and where it gets more specific, it breaks it down.
Give us some money, we'll just save it.
Thank you.
True, good
I
point.
don't care.
You feel all right?
You know, once you have money, it was
I know.
naming rights.
Yeah, but the last time we went to like Bruce, I said, I'm gonna have an extra on that at the same
I'll zoom it.
Oh, yeah, sell lumber, sell name. Somebody will pay for it.
You know, I'm
Look at the gambling machines, you're allowed $500.
You don't know the half of how.
When there's an event going on, these companies will come and put the machines in there and split profit with you.
She went in, the chief's not there, but had some trouble breathing. She had some other health problems earlier
And I
in the
said,
spring,
we look
didn't
for
really
some,
talk about it. So
some music venues during the week, maybe
certain
it
later,
gives you what you need.
That'd be the thing to do, is a couple days in a week, if you can get fill those.
We never find it. We'll look into it.
Yeah.
So she went in, had trouble breathing. You got, went in, got treated for the sorts of
Going down to the gun shop.
pneumonia, this, like this, whatever.
Stuff in there.
That was Saturday.
It was nice.
Monday she goes back in, keeps everybody couldn't breathe. Des takes her in. You know, and it just kept going and you know, trying to like.
Thank you for coming. Good to see you.
I got one.
you doing?
Chief, do you have glossy handouts for us like everybody else?
No, sir, I do not.
That should come down. Well, then we're done, huh?
I think so.
We ready? Okay, so we are back in session here for our first budget hearing. Last but certainly not least, our police chief, Doug Cole, to go over the police department budget for 2025.
First up, obviously, I want to thank you on behalf of the police department for all the resources and help that the council's given us. Certainly, this has been an unusual year for us. Never in the history have we had police officers shot in the line of duty. Counting back to November of '23, that happened twice here, once in November and once in January. Both officers, thankfully, and thank the good Lord that they are recovering well and are back on the job. We've also seen some grant funding because of that from Representative Markozic, and we certainly appreciate his help in helping us replace a car that was totaled because of the gunshots, as well as provide us with extra protection to our fleet of vehicles. So we certainly want to give a thanks to him. We sat down with Alex and Josie concerning the budget. We are currently staffed at, really 47 sworn, but we have 2 in the academy. They're going to come out of the police academy for the first time since the early mid-90s, when we would send people to the academy. We finally we call them cadets at this time, and sent two cadets that we hired through civil service to the Allegheny County Police Academy. That's the first time we've used the Allegheny County Police Academy. All seems to be going very well there. The county police, as well as the County Chiefs of Police Association, who helps staff that, they've done an excellent job of running a top-notch academy, so I feel very confident that those officers will come out properly trained. I'm being told from the staff there that they're doing okay, or doing fine, so hopefully they will graduate and come out of the academy. I certainly anticipate that, and they'll be available to us to start field training in the month of December. So that's a total of 49 officers, counting those 2. 2 officers here will be off probation either this week or early next week that are currently gone their 6-month rotation. And then we have 3 officers currently in the 6-month field training program as we speak. So we've got the hiring done this year. We look possibly to hire some more off our list. There's a possibility of 1 or 2 more people that'll be available for us. So we look to see if that's possible. If not, we certainly anticipate retesting again next year as we have people retire.
Chief, we were going to get to 50. That was our goal.
That was our goal. That's correct.
Are we going to hire that one more or not?
At this point, the answer is maybe. Our goal is to look seriously at that individual here in the next month and make an offer to see if he wants to come on board. So yeah, the answer is our goal is to be at 50 here, really by
Now, if you
Is the
mentioned,
one 120 certified? Or?
Yes, the one we're talking about currently would be 120.
I don't know if you mentioned the list we have current that's certified.
Yes.
How much time do we have on that list?
I think left about 1, maybe 2 more, first part of next year, February, March of next year. It would be done with the 1 year. Council can elect to take it another year if they wanted to.
Or
We would anticipate not to do that. I would anticipate.
And retest.
That would retest, correct.
That'd be
Ideal. That would be ideal. So again, thank you for council, because we went from 43, we were down to 43. And this year was sadly, not to mention the injured officers because of gunfire, but we certainly had officers injured in other avenues. At one time, we had 6 or 7 officers off with injuries occurred both on the job and off the job. So it's been a unique year for us with injuries to our officers, to say the least. One that I haven't seen in 40 years, put it that way. So you want to start with revenues first, or what would you like to start there?
You have the floor, Chief.
Let's do the money first. So the revenues we looked at here, under revenue, I guess, dispatch servicing, so with the dispatch center, certainly Monroeville's blessed, and I say that from numerous chiefs telling me that throughout my career, but not just that, but the fact of even having that resource of our own dispatch center, that we can still afford to do that. The dispatchers that we have meet the same standards as what they call PSAP, Public Safety Answering Point Dispatchers. Our 911 center dispatchers, lack of a better word, or a better phrase, I guess. They do an excellent job. They dispatch somewhere, we run about 100 calls for service that we dispatch a day. So if you put that in, we're a little bit less than that, around 34,000 a year. That includes police, fire, and EMS, full-service dispatch center. We're the only one in the county, with the exception of Allegheny County 911 Center, that does full service, all three. There are other dispatch centers for police only or EMS only, but the only one that does full service besides the county is us in the east, well, in the whole county, period. So we're lucky to have them. As I said, they do a great job. They do wear multiple hats. They really kind of act as our real-time crime center too right now by monitoring our camera systems that we have at intersections, as well as our license plate reader system that we are continuing to grow throughout the municipality to give us the opportunity to follow up on crimes, or even to witness them firsthand, live, actually, real time, as they say. Certainly I can tell you that from the dispatch, I can tell you from the license plate readers and the intersection cameras have been a game changer for us. It gives us opportunity to investigate crimes that we never had that opportunity before. And subsequently, our arrests have gone up because of that. We clear cases.
Now, Chief, you were talking about the emergency communications, that line item for
Page
revenue.
24.
Yeah, on the revenue side of it, well, I guess I can both, but the revenue side of it, we do dispatch for Pitcairn.
My question was, so does that include, because they're rendering service for Wilmerding now?
Yes, so
That
Pitcairn,
included?
Pitcairn Police Department is the primary police agency for the municipality or township, I guess the borough of Wilmerding. So we actually have 3 communities that get full policing through Monroeville, Pitcairn, and Wilmerding. We dispatch fire from Monroeville only. We dispatch EMS and fire from Monroeville, obviously Monroeville and Pitcairn. Wilmerding, as their own fire department, that's dispatched by the county. Their EMS is provided by a county dispatch agency, Eastern area. So.
But have we been okay in that regard with Pitcairn taking on Wilmerding for calls? Are we okay?
Yeah, we've been able to sustain it with what we have here. One of the things we are asking for another employee down there in that group, we'd have to go up to 10. We currently have 9 full-time employees. We have some part-timers that helped us out. And the part-timers that have helped us out are working other jobs down in the municipality. They've moved to other positions, but they still come back and help us out, and they've done a great job of providing that extra help manpower-wise when we need it. So we did ask in the revenue here for that to go. We haven't told Pitcairn this yet either, so if they're watching on TV, we're going to ask for an increase. We've been at 24,000 for multiple years.
Do you know in the agreement or the status of an agreement we may have? Because I'm going to be meeting with them on Monday.
I don't recall, Alex, if there was an actual time on it.
Maybe it was just a handshake, Alex.
No, there was a written document as put with,
Well, for the EMS there was, when we got them to pay for
the dispatching services, there was.
Well, maybe so.
We've seen,
Okay,
we've
there
seen that.
probably is one. I'll double check for that.
Is that amount enough, all that considered?
I think it's fair. I mean, we haven't raised it in probably, we haven't raised it in 8 years or so. I think we're asking for a 6,000 increase is what we're asking for the services we provide. And yes, the call volume's gone up, but the vast majority of the police call volume still is obviously Monroeville. We're doing somewhere in the neighborhood. I can tell you, I'm just giving you rough figures. I can give you exactly, but we're dispatching, Pitcairn's probably, with Wilmerding combined, it's around 4,600 calls a year that police get dispatched.
So just to be clear, just for the public's information, so if someone from Wilmerding calls 911, they dial 911, it goes to the county, and then they say this emergency is in Wilmerding.
Right.
It comes out to Monroeville.
That's correct.
And then Monroeville will dispatch, if it's police issued, dispatch Pitcairn Police to the issue in Wilmerding.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's exactly how it happens. And same thing if you dial 911 for Monroeville call, and it's a Monroeville resident in Monroeville, police, fire, EMS, it gets transferred to us, and we dispatch the call. And the county provides us services on the 911 side of it that they get with the phone number, the location, the latitude, longitude, all that data comes with that number to them. They give that to us.
Chief, how come the budget, the revenue from pit care and dispatch was 34,000 in 22 and 23, and then went down to 21,000 in 2024?
I'm looking at Josie.
Yeah.
So the first answer to
Yeah,
that is
I
that's year
was-
to date.
Yeah, I was looking at
Oh,
that.
okay. And then the next would be the, what was budgeted, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Other than we historically budgeted that amount.
There may have been some other things in there.
There could have been the
Not-
EMS side of the 12,000 that they put in.
Yeah.
They could have got misplaced.
Yeah.
Correct, that
Right.
they pay for the workman's comp. It could have been also, when we were providing holding them in the jails or something like that. We held them, when
Yeah.
they don't do, they
There
have their own
could be
jail.
other-
There were some other things in it, Bill, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, Alex, you answered the question as far as 24, it's because it's, yeah.
So, I mean, we're looking for an increase there. Obviously, they pay a minimum of 24,000, but we're asking it to go to 30, which I think is reasonable. The next page here for the patrol division, any questions on anything there? You notice that the overtime reimbursement, we budgeted to be around 175. If you can see here, this year so far it was 271. We had a pretty high
Yeah,
year. We had a real high year with extra details that were being reimbursed by either the mall, by PennDOT, I need to tell you about the traffic details you saw out here on 22. We were being reimbursed by PennDOT for providing services there. Certain assemblies of worship have been hiring us. I guess it kind of reflects the times. The mall is the big one that hires us, our officers that work the detail at the mall. Then even in that was also Attorney General overtime cases associated with the DEA, FBI. We call them OCDFs, Organized Crime Drug Task Force. Most of that money on the overtime reimbursement goes to the detectives, but in some cases, patrol officers have been helping. It's not in some cases, in many cases, so there's some reimbursement there. So we actually did very well. I think the 175 is a good number to keep. It could very well be higher next year, but 175 seems to be a good number. The detective division, again, we're looking at overtime there. You saw in 23 it was 77. We got reimbursed. Here we're saying around the 45,000 mark. That seems to be consistent with what they get based on the different organizations, usually federal and state organizations that we get involved with. They reimburse our overtime for joint ventures that we do, mostly narcotics related. Support services, just showing the burglar alarms, the liquor control taxes that we get, vendor permits, that's mostly done by Michelle, handles all that, does all that billing down at downstairs in my office. My administrative assistant does a great job with that. And then the report recap, looking at that, just all of it together. So the training center is the next thing with revenue. The training center is pretty consistent here. We've gotten $24,000 a year from the Allegheny Health Network that use it as a regional training center for all their paramedic or pre-hospital training that they do, which includes obviously nurses, doctors, as well as pre-hospital paramedics, EMTs. So they use our facility over there. They pay us $24,000 a year to offset the expenses there. And then we approved last year, haven't got any antennas on it yet, but we built a tower there. They've been paying us $2,000 a month rent also. So that training center, when you look at the operating expenses of that training center, that's been we do Rob Peter to pay Paul. In other words, the Public Works maintains it. They have people over there, so there's a hidden expense or hidden expense that we have with them cutting the grass and cleaning it and doing the things that they do. A great job. But we run that on a shoestring budget, and it's a heck of a facility. When you look at the buildings alone over there that the federal government has paid for, well over $1.7 million. We're currently in the process because of the accreditation. We're going to get to the accreditation here, but we're building a two-car garage there to house our evidence vehicles. We can't store them in the garages downstairs. It doesn't meet the requirements of the accreditation. We have to have a separate locked, secure building that only certain people have access to, meaning our evidence custodians.
Two's enough?
It's a two-car deep, two-car. It's too wide, too deep.
So 4 cars.
Yeah, you could fit 4 cars in, yeah. And we have a little bit extra space there. Public Works is doing a great job with that. they're building the base for that, the pad, and then we're gonna do, I call it the Butler Building, one of them prefab buildings, we're gonna put up a garage. Right next to the current garage building that has full garages. So the tower is gonna be functional here hopefully sooner than later, because if you haven't noticed, I think our cell phones aren't working as well as they should. So, and Verizon built the tower initially, but they just sold it to a third party, so AT&T could put stuff on it, T-Mobile, everybody could put stuff on it.
And you still have access to put stuff on it,
Oh,
correct?
absolutely. One of the agreements we made with them to give them the council did a great job. Solicitor Ratcher, he knows towers. We have 3 spots on that tower that if anytime we have to put microwaves, anything in the future we do over there with transmit receive antennas, communications, technology, I don't need to tell anybody in this room, it's always going nuts. It continues to go nuts. So there's a lot of things on the horizon there that'll be needing the cellular capability.
Have they started paying the monthly fee?
Oh, yeah. They've been paying it for 3 or 4 months now.
That's what, $2,400?
$2,000 a month.
Oh, yeah, we definitely have been getting that for a few months now.
Maybe like 6 months. They've been paying it for a while.
So that's
Yeah.
gonna go
Yeah.
back into this revenue stream, on the revenue side? Where's the incoming revenue? Capital fund.
Dan
I
Blaine
think
said,
it's-
it'll be another.
It would be in a police department, would be one of the departments, I don't.
Well, we put it back just into the public safety
Public
training
safety training center.
So to offset that,
Okay.
yeah. But as long as it goes into the general fund though, when it comes in,
Right.
it's just a
Yeah, I
debiting it at least. or
I'll let
crediting.
you know where it is.
All right. Any questions on the revenue? Kind of moved through that pretty quick. But pretty standard, same as all. The only difference, obviously, the real big difference is the extra overtime being paid by outside agencies that were being reimbursed to us, which was a good sign.
That
And then,
it could be, yeah,
of course,
that's probably what it
the adding
is.
24,000 a
Yeah.
year revenue from the tower at the training center. Police chief budget. Yeah, I guess we just do it that way. Anybody got any questions on it?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move through that. The emergency communications, same thing here. We added some extra money. If you look at the bottom office furniture, we're kind of leaving that up in the air. We do want to, obviously, if we make the move a little quicker than we think from downstairs, upstairs, depending on how that plays out, we don't know how that's going to play out with the district attorney. We are trying to make the dispatch center more of a real-time crime center to monitor the technology that we have. We expect to have more technology in the future. Well, obviously, we are going to have more technology in the future. We certainly looking at drones and different things that we're going to do that will need people to monitor that. We hope to have an agreement with the district attorney's office to help that out. So there's a whole plan in moving forward here. Hopefully, first quarter, second quarter next year, really looking heavily at that. So that's why we put the $75,000 just for some furniture and movement of different things that they would need to make that a more functional, real-time crime center. But certainly, if we do something different with the buildings under capital, that money will not be spent. It'll be something we put in the capital.
Alex, quick question. Are we in conversations with the COG to have something happen there?
Yeah, we have a lease agreement with them that was in 2019, a 10-year agreement with the 5-year renewal, so we're heading into the 5th year. The COG is a good fit for us. They provide an essential match with us, and they've been in this building since about 2007 or 2008. If this opportunity can develop with the district attorney, it would be even more closer aligned to our core, and it would be a great opportunity. So to be proactive in the summer, I've started to have a discussion with the COG about this, much on a formal basis, and it's gotten a little bit more formal, probably much to their chagrin. They're an outstanding partner. They've been doing amazing things for us. We do so many things, like with grant management and so forth, but there may be an opportunity for them to even relocate within Monroeville and do that smoothly. The frustrating thing is many of you guys might know, that was once the call center. And we were doing, like the region here out in the east, calls for more than this municipality. And when that was downsized, council saw it to move them downstairs in what was a clerical storage space with a kitchenette. And so we basically are trying to do 3, and at times there's 4 people into that space, and I can't it's maybe 30% of what it needs to be on its own now. Like even without the DA, we probably should move them into a larger space, but we can't. This building was probably when it opened, built to its full capacity. So we're struggling with space. So I'm talking to the COG, and we want to be gentle with them because they've been a great partner, but it is looking like an opportunity, if we can do this, to enhance police protection, 911 monitoring and dispatch, and give them the more space that they need. And hopefully, with our partner COG, get them into a good place as well. But there's a lot of moving parts of this, and it's actually moving quickly.
Yeah.
But the technology is alone. The cameras we've added, the monitoring opportunities that they have, let alone the real-time information on crime, license plate readers, and everything else. This is the direction we've got to head in. So it's frustrating because we like the COG being here, but at the other hand, we have a higher, more central to mission objective with the police protection and fire EMS services that we have.
And one of the things that make our police protection and fire EMS also is that we have to be a little bit regional here. Because still, yes, we have our homegrown problems too, but we're a transient crime issue. People
We're the
come here.
gateway for the
We're the
county
gateway, absolutely.
in that area.
We are the it's all about highways. You think about all this, it's all about transportation. It's about moving highways. And Monroeville's only going to get more highways. You know, with the bypass here in the future, widening the Pennsylvania Turnpike. When you look at the Mon Valley, that's going to, may not happen in our lifetimes, but it's going to happen somewhere. The reality was, we have the state routes, we have the interstate routes, we have everything associated with that. So the more that we can regionalize some of this out here and be a leader in that, will just make the community safer, in my view. And I think that's, this real-time crime center. You're seeing all these little municipalities now that lost their dispatch center. We've kind of made those dispatchers dual role people down there. They do our real-time crime stuff as well as our dispatching. They can't continue to do both at the same time, but they do it well now. When it gets more regionalized, like the word I think is probably regionalized with more other agencies involved in how we want to set this up, with more license plate readers, with some aviation, drone technology, that type of stuff. You're looking at it's going to take off, and it's going to be a real game changer, just like the license plate readers were. You know, years ago, I would never thought that they would be as effective as they were. I'll eat my words on that 10 years ago. And I certainly, they have been really effective in a suburban atmosphere, which I knew they would be effective in a densely populated city, because you were seeing that all in London, you were seeing it all over the world, New York City. But the sprawled out cities, I didn't think that there were sprawled out communities in suburbia. I didn't think they'd be effective, but they have been very effective.
Chief, you mentioned earlier about the 9 wanting to do 10 dispatch persons. You know, the ambulance had mentioned the challenge of part-time meeting, the needs and needing to go more to the full-time reliance. And we're having the same thing in dispatch. We do have part-timers, but we really need to go to the 10th and have the full-time. And the afternoon shift is quite busy, and we need, we should have the third down there.
We certainly would like to fund that position. And to get people to take that job or to get that job, as Alex knows, we've interviewed people many times over this year. That's a different.
The residency has helped, because we have seen some people come from the county who live very nearby. They wouldn't be able to move in our community for what we pay a dispatcher, but they're getting paid better here than they are at the county, and we have better benefits.
And they have a better work-life balance, as a certain manager likes to say.
We're shooting for it.
So, Chief, to play off what Alex is saying, 49% of our call volume is on second turn, right?
It's still pretty consistent.
Ballpark about that.
Absolutely. Almost
So should we
50%.
could we move up to 3 dispatchers on second?
That's what we want to do.
Yeah, if we have 2 daylight, 2 second turn, not asking to double it to 4, but 3 on second turn.
And Bill, we've looked at numbers here over the past couple of years, specifically post-COVID. Obviously, during COVID, they were all messed up. But the post-COVID, I don't need to tell you and tell anybody here, our outside life, nightlife, if it's black, used to go to 1 or 2 in the morning pretty consistently. It doesn't do that anymore. We roll the sidewalks up around 10 p.m. And what happens is, consistently in this municipality, you can look hour-rated call volume. Busy hours are 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. that 12-hour block is where we get it. And it makes kind of sense. We got a little pickup in the morning with the morning rush at 7, that 6 to 7, 6 to 9. But really, most of the people are moving around in our community between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. So we see that. But yeah, absolutely, we put the third. Our intent to do that, specifically over the weekend hours. Yep. So that's the budget there with the next one's police patrol. You see an uptick in some of the contracted services. One of the reasons that happened is we used to take our body cameras, our in-car cameras, and our interview room camera system was a capital expenditure. It's now no longer that. It's an operating expenditure under contracted services. The reason for that is that we've gone to the cloud instead of having our own servers just for a bunch of technology reasons. And in doing so, it was more advantageous for us to just pay a yearly fee, and then everything's covered. If one of the cameras breaks, we send it in and get a new one. It's all covered under that yearly fee that we do. So that's why you saw the contract services go up a little bit here. And that took that camera system out of there. The next thing you may see, it's not happening this year, because I've held off, is the tasers are doing the same thing too. Just give preempt to next year. We're going to have to start looking at a yearly fee to keep tasers operationally instead of buying them. We try to buy them. Taser tries to do, everybody does that 5-year thing. After 5 years, they want you to move on to something else. We keep our tasers, this year we're going to keep them close to at least 9 years. And they're all functional. We maintain them, keep the batteries up on them, replace the cartridges, do everything we need to do, certainly train with them. But we're looking more now into some virtual training with the tasers and some of the newer tasers, the new taser 10 actually, it's out, is something to look at, that we're going to have to do that on a more contract basis instead of.
You mentioned something about video compliance with that too, then put into body camera synchronization, video.
Well, that's the reason why that's why we had to go to the cloud. That's absolutely correct.
From the taser, as well as the body camera.
To everything. Well, the reason we went to the cloud, though, was also the cloud then it does integrate with our CAD system, our computer-aided dispatch, and our record management system. But now it all together because it's all up on the cloud. So everything's going to one point. So from someone who's not a super smart guy on technology, have enough to make me dangerous. That kind of makes sense to me. So I'm just throwing that at me. So we've been very lucky. Again, obviously, in a positive note to all the officers, the use of those cameras, for good or bad, we've used them. The guys have been using them. We haven't had a kickback from that. The bargaining unit was together and putting policies together to still give them their privacy too, but also to make sure that we have that word transparency and the use of those cameras to make sure we document what we're doing in the field. So our in-car camera system right now is the best it's ever been. Of course, body cameras are kind of new. We've only been in for about 3 years now. So that's cool. So, and again, patrol rec.
Chief, how about K-9 are you budgeting for K-9 for next year?
I budgeted extra money to purchase the equipment for the K-9, correct. We anticipate using the dogs, getting the dogs with some help from the DA's office on that cost. And then using some of our we'll call them older cars, but new older cars that can be rotated into the capital expense of having the vehicle. My goal is to do 2 next year. That's been my goal for a couple of years now, so we'll try to get moving toward that.
I was led to believe 1 dog to start with.
Okay, well, again, 1 dog's only going to give us a certain amount of hours a day.
That's more than we have now.
Okay, I think we'll do at least 1.
Yeah, we're trying to get 2 into this budget.
We're putting 2 into the budget, that's correct. The staffing, it really became the manpower issue, Bob. It really, if we got the guys, we can train them. I'm pretty sure we're going to have the guys, we'll have the guys ready to go here by the middle of next year, off probation, off their field training. We'll have them available, figure out who's going to retire. I think we're only going to lose 1 next year. If we get this extra guys, we'll still be at that 49-50. We can certainly take a couple guys for 6 weeks out of patrol and get them trained up and get them ready to go. So we can use the old cars. We can also look at, depending on what happens with the capital, if we want to buy new cars for that.
Yeah, I kind of, just if I could interject, I'll be talking about this, and we'll probably, hopefully can move over time in this direction. We do not exist to own vehicles. We exist to deliver services. Sometimes that's done at 2 o'clock in the morning in snow plowing, and other times it's 0 to 60 to chase the bad guy. So the objective then is service delivery. So at my home, I might keep a car till it has 200,000 miles on it, and I can run it into the ground, and if it's broken down, I can take my wife's car to work. But that's not how you run a business that has to do 0 to 60 to catch bad guys and plow snow in the morning. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a worn-out UPS truck. Why? Because they're not in the business to own UPS trucks. They're in the business to deliver packages. And so you have to have a high fleet performance. We invested a lot in our mechanics. You've heard how great they are. I don't know if you know how great they are. Please go see them. They're amazingly trained. We've got Logan, who does our vehicle fleet ferrying to make sure the vehicles are taken care of and getting serviced properly. A lot is invested in that because we don't want downtime. And we heard earlier with the firemen what happens with ladder truck number 5 and what catastrophic events happen this year. So what I'm hoping to do has been habitual in this community and a lot of other communities to pass vehicles down, for example. And it seems like, okay, the worn-out police car should go down to the codes guys. When it's a worn-out police car, auction it off. What that may mean is you're buying new cars, for example, in codes, but you're keeping them a lot longer. But you're getting a car that the codes needs, not the hand-me-down police car that maybe works but is okay, but it's been beaten up and abused. And the reason this is critical, you all know this, the technology in these vehicles is not lasting 5 years. We used to be able to do miles and say, you know what, you can keep a car for 100,000, that's good. Lots of luck on technology, lots of luck on the bells and whistles in the systems, the adaptive cruise controls, whatever's in these systems are not lasting the 5 to 10 years like you may have been able to do. So working with Hugus, Mr. Hugus and Chief Cole, I'm trying to impress upon them it's going to be, in the short run, a little more cost, but in the long run, it's about a fleet management that's aggressive in keeping current and moving the vehicles out. Now, they'll get a little more higher value when they go to auction because they're not being run into the ground and just not as salvageable or not as, market value. But that's just some high-level things. We don't have to talk about that now, but I wanted to inject that these guys are hearing from me, instead of recycling cars and stretching technology and stretching the warranty limits, I'm like, you know what? You need a canine. Let's go that direction. But, knowing the dog's going to be around a while.
But there's not an issue with retrofitting something that we already have.
That's correct. We can put a,
For that
we can
specific
put a cage in. That's correct, we can. We can do that with the Ford Explorers we have now. We can put a cage in, make them a K9. You got to put some markings on them, that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit default so the dog doesn't get endangered, so they
No,
run.
we put a kennel cage in the back seat of the car because they don't transport prisoners. That's right now. All our vehicles are designed. We have 25 marked vehicles, and they're designed to transport prisoners too. We can grab one of them up to do that. What we call them our pool cars or something similar to that.
Okay.
No, and I agree wholeheartedly with the manager in looking how we're going to do the vehicles. Because if anybody, I'm looking, if some of Bob and Joe, you definitely remember back when they did the police department got 10 new vehicles every year. I mean, and everything got passed down. It was Concord Pontiac going that far, but then it was the Ford Explorers, or correction, the Ford Crown Vics. And that everybody, that's why we're finally auctioning off the last Crown Vic, I think, this year. Some of them are 14 years old, 15 years old. And we have some we tried some smaller cars that didn't work right either. So, no, I mean, things like, we were discussing a van for Parks and Rec, a van, small like the TV50 or Monroeville TV has, or actually what the senior center has, something like that may be possible, good vehicles for those guys. Whereas a Ford Explorer coming out with 110, 120,000 miles, that's not what they need to have. So, cool. Police detective, we're talking about, again, moving, if any questions on that. Basically, that budget's just adding one more detective to that, so it'll be a total of 6.
Will the canine come, they're not in that, or will they be in that?
The canine's going to be in patrol because of the overtime issue and staffing issues. There's a union issue there, too.
But the way they're
Let's not discuss.
supervised, or the way the division works, they'll be in that
That's not
special
what
unit?
that's not what we discussed. We were going to put them under special operations.
Well, Bill, we have to, we got to play that through, figure out how, there has to be some negotiation with the bargaining unit individual. We're in a different position now because we can dictate the staffing on any shift. One of the things that happened while we had them in patrol, when we had 4 of them, was because obviously we had 4 of them, and they had to be part of staffing to offset, because we had a staffing minimums. Yeah, so we certainly will look at, I mean, I want to be creative and
I mean,
put
we had a-
10, 12-hour shifts.
we had a
I
tra-
want to do something creative, but, you know,
We had a whole
that's gotta be
traffic
negotiated
division,
at
we had a whole
different level.
traffic division that did not count towards shift minimums.
That's correct, we did.
So this could be a similar
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, we would, I'd be willing to certainly look at that. Ideally, you'd want them at your high hours that you would need them, not at hours that are normally to 7 to 3, 3 to 11. And again, this is a phased thing. You know, pickups that we had that we got rid of here when they went to living outside the municipality, not having to live in the municipality. That's happened now. Now the next step is, should we still be on shifts that are 7 to 3? I call them mill hunky shifts. They really actually were mill shifts
were, yeah,
that
that's
the
what I
US Steel worked, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. And that's the issue that departments you're seeing around our area now. It's more prevalent out west and down south. But all these departments, even locally, Penn Hills just went to 12-hour shifts.
There was a
We're
great
starting
session
to
at
see
ALOM
that.
last year, and you were talking about ALOM earlier, that they talked about that, and a number of them talked about the younger officers wanting that work-life balance are much willing to do these, whether they're 12s, 10s, or whatever works best for the department.
Especially if you got to drive 30 minutes to get to work every day, and your commute now is cut down from, 20 times a month to 15 times a month, or less.
Would that be something that you would have, that, I mean, I know
It's got to be, we're not.
would it be across the board for everybody in these other 12?
Again, that'll be up to that's a negotiated thing. It's not something we can just, because
sure.
there's a contract.
I'm sorry, Mr. Stevens, I just want to, before I forget. You mentioned special operations.
Right.
Is that
Yeah,
something
one-
current?
We've had it, but
We do have a special now there's nobody in it. At one time, our
Okay.
special operations.
Well,
had-
detectives are in it.
Yeah, detectives also are in the detectives. They're in the criminal, they're in the detectives.
There's some
Special
category.
operations was originally for the guys that were associated with DARE and with the school resource officers. That's what special. Now, my goal was if we got a school resource officer funded partially or whatever from the school district, which did not happen, was to be asked for another person and put that person under the detective's special operation, detective supervisor, so that we would have he could be not that he was in uniform, so on the off months, he could be back helping the
So
detective.
then he wouldn't count toward minimums.
He would not count toward.
Ah,
Oh,
okay,
absolutely.
so
Well,
in other
well,
words-
but, hey, Bill, but if he's in the SRO, he's in the
I
school
know,
every day, he
I know.
can't count toward
I
that.
know, I'm just saying.
Because he's in the school 185 days a
I
year.
know why. You mentioned the mill hunky thing, and I lived through that for 20 years. But we did it week to week to week. How do your officers do it?
We do it, they bid yearly,
It's a
and they
yearly.
bid their days off.
That's the only way to do that.
Well, yeah, because it was not fair changing every week like you guys
I
did. Oh,
did
yeah,
that for
yeah.
20 years,
Oh,
and it
man.
kills you. It
Yeah,
really
it
does.
really did. No, they don't, I agree with that too. And I would not be against bidding shifts, 10 or 12-hour shifts in different days off, how we want to do that. But, some of the 12-hour shifts have rotations where they rotate from night to eve. And some of the departments still do rotate on a monthly basis.
It's catastrophic for health.
It's bad for health. Bill, I'm totally agreeing with that. I mean, it's,
I
so.
just wasn't sure how you did
No,
it.
I would not. But I mean, I'd be willing to listen to anybody's, listen to any schedule that comes up that gets more manpower on the hours that we have the calls. We know, I just said, we know the calls, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
We should have as many people on the road as we possibly can.
Well,
We
not
know
from
where it's
week to
at.
week.
I mean, I'm not saying we should go down to one guy working nights, absolutely not. But what I am saying is that there's different times of the evening hours that, or the overnight hours where staffing could be a little bit different, depending on how the shifts were starting. So, yeah, okay. Support services is, I have an IT person, which unfortunately, Uncle Sam took him to Germany when military on me here. Well, that's the other thing that happened this past year. I had two people off on military, either military leave, serving the country. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just that it certainly puts an impact on the department. Tina's done a great job of helping us with the IT, but I think one of the most important things that we did was have an IT person under my command. I can't tell you how many times, things just don't work right in these IT systems, and have somebody, hey, I can figure this out, and show you how to make it happen, makes a big difference. I would continue to want to keep an IT person. We've been blessed with Matthew helping us out here, who obviously should be helping Tina. he's spending more time, almost full-time, well, he is spending full-time downstairs with us in the police department, so we've been blessed with that. But certainly there's things that are happening, we had a project of changing the cameras around, and the car cameras are being done, and as we speak now, we're upfitting these cars here as we speak. There's 4 brand-new cars sitting out that we're getting upfitted. The things that we're doing continues to require the help, and Logan's part of that too. That's support services.
Well, and also the other indication too, and I guess we put the security systems under the manager's budget still, correct, Alex?
Not sure.
But generally, in the past,
I'm sorry?
the security systems, the
Yeah.
installation and then the operation has generally lived under the manager. We assigned it to the manager pre-COVID. It's still there. So, for example, we installed, we're continuing to install the ongoing security system. What I'm saying is that's going to create data. That's where I'm going with this. But right now, the security and building security lives with the manager, does it not?
I don't think that's, isn't, the security, what you're talking about, the cameras and
Security, yeah.
that was all capital.
Correct.
But the ongoing maintenance, like with
Yep,
Zycor,
and costs.
Oh, the ongoing
Yes,
maintenance.
there's ongoing costs associated with this. I don't know. I don't see the necessarily put that in the cloud or.
How does the, for
I
going
think
forward with
that's
the
gonna
fob
be
system?
Tina that'll-
I think it might be under Tina also.
It
I
is.
do have some of that
So-
with the license plate readers, maintenance
Yeah.
costs. They're under my contract services.
So here's where I'm going to go with this, even to do that, to come back to it. So we'll clarify those. So realistically, though, we're talking about, Alex just talked about the Fusion Center, that we, to the crime center. Bill's mentioned it too, the work we've been doing with the district attorney. Do we need to think about, you have Matthew down there now, when we started to get the first person down there.
Well, if you want to
Now
give me
we-
another guy, I'll take it in a minute.
Well, but I mean, is it a consideration even at this point in time in budgetary concerns? Or is it a next year one? How critical is it going to be in terms of time? I don't think it's any longer than the next year if that's the case.
It could be a gap.
Well, absolutely, we would take but there would have to be some coordination with Tina, certainly here. Okay, part of that, but I would not be against that. I envision, like one of the issues that we're having now is we got to get a bigger pipeline with our internet here because of more things that we're doing with the internet. It's like anything else. The more time you use it, the more you got to have
We're
people using
creating,
it
we
at one
talked about
time.
data and technology
Yeah.
that's increasing.
And I don't need to tell you that the future with the radio system, you guys, you both Joe and you both know that well. We're going to be going to a trunk radio system in the next 5 years. We're going to have to do that because the county's going to do it. They're going to force us. They got $80 million that they're spending on that, and probably more.
I'm sorry, Chief, what?
It's called a trunk. It basically, we currently have our own radio system. We have 3 channels. They're UHF frequencies, which is the same as the county. Everybody in the county's on UHF. And those 3 channels are what they call multiplex. When you key a mic or talk, it comes off 4 towers strategically located around Monroeville, all tied together with microwaves. The county's going to put a system in countywide that's like your cell telephone system, your cell phone, where it's called time division multiple access. Again, I got enough to make me dangerous, Mayor. I don't understand how it works, but you got to simulate. You got to be on the system. You have to be registered into the system. Your portable radio, you can't talk on it. There's a whole bunch.
So it will no longer be UHF?
It'll be UHF, but it'll be digitally encrypted that you won't be able to monitor. And it'll be like the state police. That's
Well,
correct.
and the other piece
And they're
of
going to be in that position. Whether they're going to do it digitally, not let you monitor it, that's up in the air. But the infrastructure for that is being built out at 40-some towers across the county right now, and it's huge, huge money.
But how does that impact Monroeville?
Well, because Monroeville wants to be able to talk to those individuals to mutual aid, help them, or them to come help us. We got to be on the same platform.
I understand that, so that would be something we would have to pay for.
Well,
They would do the infrastructure.
They've given us portable radios. They've done that for every the fire companies and the police department. They're talking about paying even for the ring down centers. They're talking about it, providing what they call the subscribers, the portable radios and the mobile radios. But the infrastructure itself is something we'd have to build out if we wanted to stay by ourselves on the radio side. So there's going to be, this is a 5-year, I'm getting real ahead of myself here, but the reality is that technology, like you said, is going to require people. The county's talking about having a 15-man radio shop, 20-man countywide radio shop to take care of, because they're going to own all the radios.
Yep.
They're going to own all the portables, all the mobiles, all the infrastructure for them. They're going to own all of that.
So Westmoreland did this as an
Westmoreland
example.
did that 20 years
Westmoreland,
ago.
and then there's regional county. So, but in addition to that, and actually, Nick and Dennis and I, when we had our last intergovernment, we began to talk about that integration also with what the school district had as well. So we can create this technology, but the idea of it has been this. A computerized system helps us secure and control the selection of those frequencies. Like Doug talks about now, a police officer picks it up, he talks on it, talks to somebody else, okay? Well, that's using that particular channel frequency. What we're talking about with the trunk system adds capability and capacity to it because it reaches out to multiple channels and frequencies, and the computer says, hey, these are open, you can use this now, and these can do this. And the timing and the technology, it's actually quite mature now, it's not brandy new. But Westmoreland built it out, they added into it additional counties.
Lafayette's doing it,
Yeah.
Butler's doing it.
Well, they're
all the counties,
combined
all
to do
the
that
rest
too.
of the
So it
counties.
is, it's what we.
And the
but
state
we
police
still-
have just done it,
Right.
statewide, yeah.
And we can do what we need to continue to do with Monroeville, with our center that's on there, because it's to our advantage. There's advantages to it that we need to revisit again, even with the school district and the programs they've been funded for to do that. It's about frequencies and numbers and things to put together. So we continue to do that. Pull that all together, be in an area where we're essentially working the same way we do now. But then if we need to talk to the county, click over, and then we're into this other selection group that's on there too. So it's not an impossible piece. My sense of it is it's not really a build-out for us that is going to be a huge expense like what the county is doing to do that. It will be some, but not to that level on the capital side of it to going on to. So that, more to come.
The only good thing is that the city's going first, South Hills is going
We're on
second,
last.
North Hills is going third, West Hills is going fourth, the East Hills is going last.
So Chief, so the county will buy radios for all the PDs that they're dispatching?
Yeah, they bought radios for us too, Bill.
For us too, okay, okay.
And it's
They only
and it's
bought us
a
8
substantial-
right now, but they bought 8. Monroeville as a whole with the fire, because there's 5 separate fire companies and 4 separate EMS companies, got 70, counting my 8 plus 2 for they owe me 1 for the EMS. We got 81 radios. So we did okay.
And they went from a cost perspective and the capability, it looks the same, almost $2,000 more than what it was we had.
$4,000 radio, they gave us $360,000 worth of radios.
I mean, so the back end of the infrastructure for that is, the backbone is.
That's
we
still,
put in there.
that's still a few years away
So
for us.
would we be hitting off of the county's repeaters, or do we have to put our own on the towers?
It depends what we decide to do. If the county lets us use what they call their core, it's the computer, like Eric says, that controls it all.
Right.
If we're able to get on the core, then we can use their infrastructure and not have to use
So the only thing we have to do is put in our infrastructure for our dispatch to communicate with that new equipment.
And that's correct.
Yeah, and we
That'd
have
be
some of
the
the
way to look at
backbone beginning to do it too. But where this conversation started, okay, was consideration should probably be made, in terms of additional IT support across the board, whether it's split between our IT, we've expanded what we're doing, whether it's between our normal IT department and additional support across, police department and back to the security system is where I was going to go is this. If we build out in terms of crime analysis / fusion center to that can also include input from the security system we have too. So it increases our, monitoring of that too.
Well, Eric, I would agree with you. I think what we should do is part of this would be, and certainly, I don't know if it's next year yet or the following year, looking for the position, but we actually are a real-time crime center now. We're going to be more of a formal one with the proper software and the proper, because all these, like the city of Pittsburgh had to take 5 police officers, well, they did more than 5, they did 10 police officers, sign a lieutenant to them, and become their own real-time crime center to watch their stuff that they have down in the city, i.e. shot spotter, license plate readers, cameras everywhere, and then hook into other people's cameras. That's the other, and the next step for this is going to be facial recognition and drones, and flying drones.
So it's not critical. It's not critical now. It may not be critical in the
So
25
there's going to
budget.
be, you're going to have IT support for that all along, because it's all IT. Everything it is, whether it's, and even our radio system is IT. It's all computer-based. So IT is the backbone of it. And one of the other reasons why we want to move upstairs is because we have the IT room.
Infrastructure's here.
We have the infrastructure, the proper air-conditioned and proper raised floor with the racks, and all the stuff that runs in there now will be right at the dispatch in the real-time crime center / fusion center. So, it's exciting times. I mean, I see this really, really expounding upon the license plate readers in the video, is putting up a
Could
net.
we end up needing somebody mid-year?
So-
We need
so
somebody
just-
people, that's real.
If I could interject with your permission, it's just a matter of, I'd like to consider strategic use of consulting services where necessary. And that's kind of where we're trying to manage with Brian being out. Matthew and Tina are doing an amazing job. But what we did was, before Brian left, was work with a couple vendors who can provide consulting services for IT and have that as a fall plan for the backup. Obviously, if we work with the DA's office, we would be relying on the DA's IT to help us navigate.
They do have a person,
because-
they talked about having one person
Yeah,
assigned to that.
Yeah,
They
they
did
would
talk about
be,
that.
it would be their stuff
they-
we're using, so there would be their
Well, they have a
technical
different,
assistance.
they gotta, remember, they're also analysts too, so they have a
Yeah.
different, Alex, they have a different, if you wanna, idea of how that should work or how that should be, but not terribly, I mean, we're all on the same page. It's just, they have a different mission's the word I'm looking for, that we might have with just, hey, we're worried about providing support to
And
our
the
officers on a
benefit- yeah.
real-time basis.
The benefit of the consulting
fire
services specifically
and
for
medics.
IT is similar to what we get out of engineering. By having a full-service engineering firm, we have bridge and structure engineers, we have architects, we have cost estimators, we have wetland and other kind of expertise. So, I would not seek first to add personnel to IT. I would seek to contracted services with the right companies who have maybe greater expertise and more tools in their toolbox
Okay,
than.
I'm satisfied with the answer. That's fine for right now.
So the next thing is obviously is our school crossing guards. We've dwindled that down to just 3. Josie, does this include, is that the total expense or is that half the expense? We split this with the school district pays half.
No,
That's the total expense?
that should be total.
Yeah, then we didn't have their reimbursement. We gotta look, I don't know if we had the school guard reimbursement. We gotta maybe check that.
We did, but it just, it's probably going to revenue.
Yeah, so I didn't
Doesn't
see the revenue
reduce
when I
it.
looked at it real quick. Okay, well.
I'll
we know.
look,
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
look into it
Yeah, just make
tomorrow.
sure that, if that's the full cost, that's not the true full cost, because we get reimbursed half, we split it with the school district. We're trying to, we may go back one more. Right now, the 2 main intersections that we cover is, and we're trying to get someone, if someone's interested in being a school crossing guard, we're always looking for applicants too, if anybody's watching out there in TV land. We certainly, we cover Old 22 Garden City, which is a real important, we need to have one there. The highway's just too busy, there's a lot of kids across there. We have one up off of 5th, I think, in Mellon, which is just a bus stop up there, Thomas and 5th, I believe. Yeah, and then the other one that the school district wants, they want one at the entrance to University Park Elementary off of Knoll Drive, which we currently can't staff now because we don't have anyone there, but that's the 3 positions that we cover. As the years have gone by, we've attritioned them out to some extent because we just haven't had the kids walking. I mean, there's bus stops you got to worry about when they get off the bus. That's pretty much it. Nobody walks anymore. And that's the end of the expense. The only other expenses is, to finish up, is the training center. If you look at that last page of the training center, what I just try to tell everybody, we budgeted this year $54,000, and $48,000 of it is going to be reimbursed with what we make from the training center. So the cost us to run that training center, I tell everybody my job over there as being in charge of that is to schedule and to make sure that the lights stay on and that there's toilet paper in the bathrooms. And the Public Works does a great job of that, and everything's maintained and cleaned over there, and we have currently 3 buildings that we maintain. In capital, if we want to talk about some other stuff we want to grow there, we have we have the tower that we use for the training tower for the fire, plus they have a rallying point underneath a picnic shelter, I guess is the best way to put that. And in the future, we've talked about building a building up there at the top to house a couple garages for them so they can get stuff inside by the training tower. I'm in favor of doing that if we want to look at that as a capital in the future, but that's a capital. We did put some extra money in using our federal asset seizure money that we have permitted to use. We did put money into gym equipment for the police building down below, where we have a cardio, weightlifting type things that both law enforcement and federal law enforcement use routinely now. We just did that this year too.
At the training center?
At the training center, yeah. It's
And our
time to
guys
use.
have access to it?
Yes, they do. Not all of them, but they can get access to it. And we have to always watch certain ends of that. But yes, they can go there and use the equipment.
Very good. Any other
Did I do
questions?
okay,
for-
Mayor? I'm trying to keep it pretty.
Did great.
And
That's
I
all.
appreciate, we do appreciate council. I mean, one of the great things, we get a chance on the way out, our lockers came in. I guess we've been piecemeal in Capitol. You ought to go see them downstairs. They're not totally put in yet, but you can see the size of the lockers. They're definitely worth looking at. We have, that's gonna be a great addition for the officers now that don't live in town. They can go there and change uniforms if they get, sold during the day or during a shift.
Amen Corner?
Oh, Amen Corner's coming up.
November 1st.
Thanks, Eric. As a reminder, we're honoring the two officers that were shot and injured in the line of duty, Officer Hoon and Sergeant McDonald. We're doing that November 1st luncheon. All of you have been invited. I think you're all coming if you can make it. Please do. We certainly want to honor those individuals for, protecting everybody here in Monroeville, putting themselves really in harm's way. I mean, really, truly in harm's way, and doing an excellent job. The outcome to that could have been much, much worse. Two bad guys in custody. I don't think they're going to see the light of day for any next 40 years here, so I'm pretty sure one's probably not going to see the light of day ever. We have a good investigative group that have put together the cases there in Westmoreland County using DA Zigarelli's investigators, which are a bunch of retired state troop crime guys, are really good guys out of Troop A. They work for the Westmoreland County DA's office, and of course Allegheny County Police did a great job, as well as the federal government is in the process of adopting the case of the event with the shooting incident with Sergeant McDonald on Monroeville Boulevard here. So that person's going to get consecutive time both in state and then in federal pen, we're pretty sure. So we believe that they're being prosecuted to the fullest extent, and we're very pleased with both District Attorney Zappala and District Attorney Zigarelli in Westmoreland.
How's Officer Lewis? How's his immune?
Officer Lewis is, he had to have surgery, and he's recuperating at home. Being told he's doing fine. We certainly wish him the best too, absolutely. He was chasing, an individual fleeing from us and injured his knee, actually jumping a fence. So, and we did catch that person, and he's being prosecuted too.
Good police work.
All right, thanks again. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right, Chief, well, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Council, anything else for the chief? Very good. And council, any discussion of what we learned this evening? A lot to digest, and there are more things to do and go over. We have another hearing next Wednesday, October 30th at 6:30 PM. But council, any discussion or questions at this point? We good?
Motion to adjourn.
I'm getting there. I gotta hold on to that. I do have to have just a period right here for public comment. If anyone from the public would like to address council or have any questions.
Yep, Joe, it's good.
Okay, we got, so we're gonna open
We
the
have one.
comment period.
Hi, Joseph Markozik, 300 Newberry Drive.
Welcome.
Monroeville, PA. Very briefly, and I wasn't planning to say anything, let me first thank publicly my councilman, Councilman Stevenson, for appointing me to the library board. I really appreciate it. It's been a great thing for me. I was here earlier with the library when they gave their budget. And I'm very proud to serve on the library, and it's a great library we have here, and I've used it obviously for many years, and now I get to be part of it officially. So I want to thank all of you for all the great work you do for Monroeville, and I know how hard it is, and a lot of people don't give you credit where they should, but being a former public official myself, I know what it means to sit in your seat and do these things. And just lastly, it is budget night, and I was fortunate enough in my career in the legislature, my last 8 years, to be elected by my colleagues in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives to be the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee, which is elected by our colleagues in the legislature. We have to get elected here to become a legislator, obviously, but then the leadership team is elected internally. And so I know a little bit about budgets, been away from it now. When I left, the state budget that we were working with at the time was $90 billion. It's about 120 now since I left. I had a staff of about 20 people. That we had over 2,000 line items. So I know what it's like to do budgets. And I really give you a lot of credit for sitting through many, many hearings. We had plenty up there. This is a hearing here. You have another one coming up, I understand. So I really appreciate everything you do. And we've had great, I think you've done a great job of taking care of the finances here in Monroeville, which of course is public money. It's public money. And, those folks sitting out there in the various households depend on you, to make great decisions for them. And in my opinion, you've made wonderful decisions. We have a tremendous municipality here. I used to always say and colleagues of mine in the legislature would always comment that we had Cadillac services here in Monroeville. But we're not paying Cadillac prices because I think you've done such a great job in taking care of that. So for whatever that's worth, Chief did a great job, and I look forward to seeing you all again. And again, thank you for
Joe, thank
pointing me
you
to
for
the library.
applying. I wish we could get more people to apply for other boards. Your experience and your knowledge is quite an asset to the library, and thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. We're going to close the public comment period. Seeing there's no one else, and with that, I will take that motion to adjourn. Is
Motion
there a
to
second? There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, and
Lights are
good night.
still on.
See you next time.
Yeah, I'll see you.